brutal battle with muscular dystrophy. But she gets comfort when she goes to Mariners games. And they say for 3 years, she watched every Mariners game on her TV. She said baseball was peaceful and in a way reminded her of her son. It was on the anniversary of her son Wyatt's death in March of this year that she decided she was going to try to do something to move beyond the grief-stricken days inside of her home where she would watch the game. She decided she was going to go out into the world. She was actually going to go to Mariners games. And she decided to purchase season tickets. She actually, they say she lucked out. She got 2 field-level seats near first base, although I don't always love that because I always feel, even with the fencing, I'm going to get hit by a stray ball. I'm just a very nervous baseball viewer, and I only like to be in the suites or the Diamond Club or the Press Club seats. So she's now finding people. She went on Facebook to find people to join her at the games. Now, to be clear, it's not free, which is how what I originally thought. She says, "I'll sell you a ticket at my cost, $71. Seats are in near first base. I'm a 70-year-old grandma from Olympia. You could be any age from anywhere." And she says, "If you live between Olympia and T-Mobile, I'll pick you up on my way. Park in the M's garage." She got like 4,500 responses. I'm imagining a lot of them were, "Oh, this is so sweet." And it is. I don't want to do that. That just sounds kind of depressing.
And it's not even free?
It's not free. That's the thing. Like, if it were freebies, I'm like, okay, maybe you can justify it, but it's $71 plus. And again, I'm imagining a completely sweet woman. Like, totally sweet. God bless this woman. She's gone through a lot, and I'm glad she's able to get out of the house. She even, I guess, found an 83-year-old named Joan who wanted to come down. But could you imagine the depressing stories about loved loss between those two? It just sounds so depressing. And I hate that that's how I feel. That's how I feel. It feels, even though I don't think she would turn it into a burden, I think it would become a burden. We would create it as a burden. We would say to ourselves, "Oh God, we're going to have to talk to her the entire game, and it's going to have to be small talk to begin with," which I hate. I hate small talk so much. I don't care how your day was. I just don't. I don't care what you did on the weekend. Jackson, ask me what I did on my weekend.
What did you do over the weekend?
What do you care? You just want to tell me what you did on yours. That's the only reason you asked that question. Be honest. Be honest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone read my improv book. So you're gonna feel the pressure, I think, to evolve it to more meaningful conversations for her and her loss with her kid, and it's already tragic, right? I don't need to feel any more tragedy than I already do prior to, I guess, the 4-game winning streak for the Mariners against an awful team. They won today, right?
Yeah, they completed the 4-game sweep of Houston.
Hey, but they're playing the Lastros. I'm told they're called. Because they're in last place and they're the Astros. You get it? Astros.
Yeah, that's good.
You got it. I know it doesn't immediately come. But doesn't it feel like there's a whole lot of pressure on things like that, especially if it's not free? $71.
That's the weirdest aspect to me. It's like there's so many games in a season for $71. You easily find like other pretty good seats for much less.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go every week. You just do one time. But it just feels like too much pressure, and I don't want that pressure. If it happened more naturally and I just found myself seated next to this woman who maybe I saw on the news, I'm like, "Hey, I saw you on call," and then kind of move on to the game. But it feels like you'd be forced into longer conversations, and I just don't want it. I just don't want it. There's one baseball conversation I'll have, which is the Ichiro statue that was unveiled and the bat broke because whoever did that stupid thing, they took down, they had this big statue, it was the big unveiling. He was there, Ken Griffey Jr. was there, there's some other people there. They pulled down the tarp or the sheet or whatever it is, and it, I guess, was too heavy because it just demolished that bat just fell to a 90-degree angle. Rick Riz was there for the play-by-play.
Here it is, the statue of one of the greatest players in the history of the game. There's a fastball inside. And he still got a base hit.
Yeah, it was funny. And through a translator, he made a joke, Ichiro.
In the Hall of Fame, I was short one vote. And then today, my bat was broke. So this kind of lets me know that I'm still not there, that I still need to keep going.
That's fine. I mean, it was funny. It happens, I guess. I saw a lot of memes, a lot of posts online on social media about this. I just think it's kind of funny.
The Mariners made fun of it too because they were giving out little replica statues, and then they sent out a tweet about how it has like a broken bat now.
I thought it was kind of funny. It happens. No harm, no foul. If anything, we're just glad it didn't become, a metaphor for how the homestead was. They actually won. Maybe that's the good. Maybe the new. You know how sometimes you wear your hat backwards or upside down, or shoes on your hat or whatever. You can bring broken bats to the game. It's Jason Rantz Show.
With great reviews and friendly, smiling faces, General Transmission can repair your transmission for far less than a replacement. Need a second opinion? Trust General Transmission. Family owned and operated since 1988. GeneralTransmission.com.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, now's the perfect time to check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Right now, when you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yes, free. And for a limited time, you'll also get a free clean air upgrade. Plus, CM Home Comfort Advisors are tax credit and rebate experts, so they're going to help you get every incentive available. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. And if your heating or cooling system breaks down, CM Heating's award-winning technicians can fix it fast with zero service call fees with approved repair. Whether you need a repair or a full upgrade, do not wait. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate or repair today. But hurry, the free clean air upgrade special won't last.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP. No matter the season, there's always a reason to upgrade your outdoor space. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years, designing, building, and maintaining beautiful landscapes that fit your lifestyle. From full yard transformations to weekly maintenance that keeps everything thriving. And when you mention Seattle Red, you'll get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
SeattleRed.com. Local news without the liberal spin.
This is a contrived issue.
Sign up for the newsletter and get the very latest local conservative news delivered right to your inbox every day. SeattleRed.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
He says progress was made. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Vice President J.D. Vance just back from Pakistan, where he conducted high-level talks with Iranian leaders. He tells Fox's Brett Baer.
What the President of the United States has said is, number one, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So all of our red lines flow from that fundamental premise.
On opening the Strait of Hormuz, Vance said the expectation is that Iran will make progress to open the strait. As for another round of talks, Vance said the ball is in Tehran's court. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer blasted President Trump for his attacks on Pope Leo XIV.
Called the Bible his favorite book on the campaign trail, but can't name a single verse. who sells a Trump-branded presidential election of the Bible made in China for $100.
The president called Leo weak on crime and said he should get his act together after Leo said he's opposed to the conflict in Iran. Leo said he has no fear of the Trump administration or of speaking out about the message of the gospel. California Democrat Eric Swalwell resigning from Congress after multiple allegations of sexual assault.
In a statement, Swalwell says he is deeply sorry to his family, staff, and constituents for mistakes made in the past, but says he will fight the serious and false allegation made against him. A former member of his staff is accusing Swalwell of sexual assault. He says it is wrong for his constituents to have him distracted from his duties. A vote was expected this week in the House to expel Swalwell from Congress.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has pushed up his retirement date as he faces bipartisan calls to expel him after a woman he was having an affair with took her own life. In a statement, Gonzalez said he will file the papers tomorrow when Congress returns, though it's not clear if he plans to resign effective tomorrow. This matters because the margins between Democrats and Republicans in Congress are so small. America's listening to Fox News.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaid spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Here's the tale of Tina, searching up and down for decent GLP-1s, but got spun around.
Till Good RX wrote in, hey, we got something new. GLP-1 prescriptions, all FDA approved.
Brand name meds, no flags that are red.
Clear pricing from the start. None of those hidden fees in your cart.
Delivered to your door or pick up same day. Darn tootin'.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Hot foot it to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming live on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. An intruder broke into a home in Everett, allegedly stabbed 3 people. We'll have the latest out of that shocking story. But first, Jay Inslee, I guess, is getting bored in Idaho because he sent one doozy of a tweet that got absolutely shredded. That's what's trending, brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? Dum-dum alert.
Yeah, so Jay Inslee, and you know what, it's not only just Jay Inslee. It was also Patty Murray. They should probably sit this one out. Anything having to do with gas prices, if you are a Democrat in Washington State, just don't. Please just don't. And yet both of them decided to go on social media to lecture us about gas prices. Inslee, the dude whose only legislative accomplishment was raising gas prices by 55 cents, courtesy of the Climate Commitment Act, decided to go after Donald Trump on X, mocking him for what he called, I do like this, for the straights. We blocked the straights. How many did we block? I thought it was just the one. He couldn't even name it right. But he goes after Donald Trump 2 times in 2 separate tweets. The first one saying, now Trump blockades the straits. This calls for a reboot. Make gas prices greater again. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe he's celebrating the gas prices going up. But the tweet before that made it clear that he was criticizing Donald Trump because that's what all Democrats are supposed to do. He said it's high time to break out of the straitjacket of the Straits of Hormuz by moving towards renewables. First, Iran blockades it. Now Trump. Nobody blockades the sun or the wind or our batteries. Not yet. Not yet. But this idea that, now's the time to do it because look at what happened with the price of gas going up because Donald Trump and Iran. No. There's no doubt that gas prices have gone up as a result of what's going on in Iran. That's temporary. You know what isn't temporary? What's permanent? The 55 cents per gallon of gasoline that you put on it, Jay Inslee. You. And then you had Patty Murray, who posts that families from Seattle to Spokane, quote, didn't vote for Trump's war of choice. Okay. But she points out they're the ones who are paying for it at the pump. Yeah, okay. There were a lot of Spokane residents who I noticed responding to her silly tweet. And a lot of people point out that they're just driving to Idaho for gas because it's dramatically cheaper there because they don't have the Climate Commitment Act in Idaho. And, you know, when I was in Spokane a few months ago, I drove to Coeur d'Alene. I was going there anyway. I was like, ooh, I'm going to get some gas while I'm here. And I drove around for 3.5 hours just to deplete some of the gas so I could get more of it in Idaho. That's how much cheaper it was. I was driving around it's foolish of me, but I was just driving around in circles in a parking lot for 3.5 hours.
We really wanted to savor those Idaho gas prices.
Really did. And boy, did I. And I got some beef jerky. I also got beef jerky. Here's the thing about Iran. There's no doubt. It's real. The costs are real. People are feeling it. The disruption on the Strait of Hormuz is real. The gas price is hurting people. That is real. The national average is still lower than what we normally pay across the state of Washington. And what's even more inconvenient for the Democrats who are suddenly pretending to care about gas prices, it's still lower right now than what it was under Joe Biden. That's still the truth. And they weren't talking about this under Joe Biden. The Iranian war will come to an end. The Climate Commitment Act is permanent. Unless, of course, we completely change the power dynamics in Olympia. Two people responsible for structurally gouging drivers want to stand at a podium or I guess at a keyboard and act like they're on your side when they're not. They're not. And it's clear as day. I'm embarrassed for both of them. More so for Jay Inslee, who seriously, at least Patty Murray can say, well, I don't represent people in Olympia. I'm in D.C. I represent you in Senate. I did not pass. Okay, fair enough. She's ignoring all of this because it helps her politically, but fine. Jay Inslee, this is all you, dude. This is all you. You lied about this from the beginning. You continue to lie about the impact, and now you have the audacity to say, oh, yeah, gas prices are up. It's all because of Iran. No, we're on to you. We're on to you. Speaking of Idaho, he cannot escape those rumors, man. I think his former spokesperson, like last year, said it's not true. He lives, I think, on Bainbridge Island or something. And yet anytime someone responds, I think it might be a legal requirement now from Elon Musk to use X. Everyone now just says, how's Idaho? How are things in Idaho? What, are you getting bored in Idaho? Literally everything that he tweets gets labeled that. I think that's so funny. Meanwhile, we just got word that the Iranian regime has put out a new proposal for an end to this war. And it says that they want us, and I kind of like this because they're telling on themselves here. They're proposing a suspension of their nuclear activities for 5 years. So like, we'll pause it for 5 years, but then we'll go back to creating nuclear weapons that we told you we weren't doing, but everyone knew we were doing, but Democrats pretended we weren't doing it, but we were.
And we won't actually pause it because we're lying.
Yeah, to be clear, they're not going to pause anything. And to the extent that they would pause anything, it's because they're working on something else that's still directly tied to their ability to fire a nuclear weapon. Like, well, you didn't say we couldn't work on, creating better technology where our missiles can actually reach the continental United States. You didn't tell us that. Ha, gotcha. They said it could suspend uranium enrichment for up to 5 years, which, of course, the Trump administration said, yeah, no. If we're going to do something like that, it's going to be like 20 years. This, according to 2 senior Iranian officials and 1 U.S. official to the New York Times. They say the discussion suggested that there may be a path to a peace deal even as the military began its blockade of Iranian ports on Monday. Officials said they were discussing a second round of face-to-face talks. We have not received any details beyond that. It could be as early as tomorrow or as late as months from now. We don't know. My guess is It happens probably by this weekend. They say shortly after the blockade went into effect, Iran promised to retaliate. A spokesperson for its Revolutionary Guards threatened to, quote, introduce new methods of warfare. Oh, yeah, we're terrified of that. Said that, quote, no port in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman will be safe. Okay, yeah, that'll definitely win you the region. Continue to go after your neighbors. That's definitely a winning strategy. Is that possible? Is that possibly at least part of the Trump strategy to let Iran sort of go after its neighbors and then build an even bigger coalition that's more powerful and wealthy to the point where there's like no way that you can get out of this, Iran? Could that be part of it?
Maybe. I mean, I think most of its neighbors are already pretty vociferously against them, but
you're telling me they couldn't be more vociferously against them? They're still, for the most part, staying out of this. They're not putting a ton of pressure diplomatically or economically or militarily. They're upset. They've said so. Again, you had sort of the UAE saying, we're going to get more involved and help with the Strait of Hormuz stuff. But they're not really doing much at this point. You're just pushing them more into our camp, which that's a win-win for us. We want them on our side. But again, that's the latest. We still don't quite know where things stand between Israel going after Hezbollah. I know, Iran wants to try to connect their ceasefire to some sort of ceasefire with Lebanon. I don't know if that's the right move, but we'll find out as this very fluid situation continues. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Your health.
We have another example of science that the pro-science side doesn't actually want us to see. We've covered this for years, and we've been told a number of different, just flat-out lies from radicals on the left as it relates to gender identity. I'm old enough to remember when they told us, just like 4 years ago, that minors were not going through any kind of gender transition. No surgeries, nothing outside of maybe in rare circumstances they were getting put on puberty blockers. That's what we were told. We, of course, told you at the time that that's completely a lie. That is verifiably false. And all of that came crumbling down. That lie came crashing down just like a year later, and everyone kind of acknowledged, including the radical left, that, okay, we were not being as honest. They would never say that, but they finally acknowledged that, yes, there were minors who were getting surgical interventions of some kind. It wasn't a ton. I'm not here to say like tens of thousands of kids had their healthy breast tissue cut off, right? That's not the case. But there were a bunch of stuff that was happening, and children transitioning should be never acceptable, ever. Like ever. But we were told that if you were to let your kid transition, if you would give them hormones, if you would affirm their identity, if you allow them to do whatever procedure that their healthcare provider suggested, that the transgender mental health crisis would resolve amongst kids. We were told that depression would lift, that the suicidal ideation would go away. They called it, gender affirming care. You have to affirm their gender. And if you question whether or not gender affirming care works, you just want kids to die. It's dangerous to question us. Is that really what you want, Mom and Dad? Do you want your trans-identified kid to kill themselves? Because if you don't allow me to chop off the healthy breast tissue of this girl or shave the trachea down of this boy, they're going to kill themselves. Like, doctors were telling parents that. Doctors.
Would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son?
That's what they said. It's disgusting. It was so disgusting. It was so manipulative. It was the worst kind of gaslighting. You were called dangerous for asking questions. You were called worse for simply saying we shouldn't be doing this. Well, Finnish researchers just tracked adolescents referred to gender identity services and found similar results to the stuff that we've previously talked about on the show. They found that those who underwent medical gender reassignment continued experiencing significant mental health struggles. Their psychiatric treatment needs actually increased after the procedures were done, not decreased. That's what the researchers found. And by the way, this wasn't some like little tiny study of like 4 people. Although when you look at the tiny studies, they show the same exact thing too, which is the gender affirming care does not actually work, not the way that they've been told. They centralize all their gender identity assessments to 2 university hospitals. And because health registry reporting is mandatory and patients can't opt out, they got a ton of data from between 1996 and 2019. And this is from the Washington Free Beacon. A little over 2,000 individuals, it was almost 2,100, 2,083 were tracked for up to 25 years. And they were compared against over 16,000 matched population controls. So this is the full national picture without any of the cherry picking, without any, dropout bias. Everyone was included. And the numbers are terrifying. They say among those who underwent feminizing procedures, so that includes like tracheal shaving, psychiatric morbidity rose, wait for it, 9.8% to 60.7%. So it went from 10% to 60%. Among those who underwent the masculinizing procedures, like chopping off one's healthy breast tissues, it went from 21% to 55%. That's dramatic. The procedures didn't resolve the distress, according to this Finnish study. In fact, the conclusion of this study couldn't be plainer. They say psychiatric needs do not subside after medical gender reassignment. Seems kind of an important study. And something tells me if the study said the opposite, if it showed how safe so-called gender-affirming care was, this would be a huge story everywhere. This would lead in the New York Times. They'd push aside Eric Swalwell. They'd push aside Iran and say, landmark new study shows proof that medical interventions for trans kids will save lives. Yeah, it doesn't say that. In fact, the conclusion of the authors, at least for some of the adolescents, they say gender dysphoria may actually be secondary to other underlying mental health challenges, and that severe psychiatric problems have to be identified and properly treated before anyone even considers any kind of irreversible medical intervention. That's what the study says. This is peer-reviewed. It was led by professionals. In fact, one of the people who's in charge, Professor, I'm going to definitely say this person's name correctly. I need ironically, a pronoun signature on this one. Ritakaratu Kaltatialala. Rittakerttu. You should not have so many letters doubling like that. So whatever that person's name, Kaltiala. Kaltialala. That person ran Finland's youth gender clinic since 2011 and served on the UK's Cash Review Advisory Board. So this is not some right-wing think tank. This is not some people who are, quote-unquote, anti-trans. Quite the opposite. This is the lead clinician of the country's national gender program saying everything that the Democrats told us was not true, and how dare you even think that it could be true. That seems like a little bit of a problem. Do you think this will be acknowledged anywhere? I don't know why. And I said Free Beacon is actually the Washington Examiner. It's the only ones who I saw cover this study. And it was printed in a journal. You're a fan of this one. I don't get this one, but you get it. Acta Pediatrica.
I'm a voracious reader of that.
It's because it's not even in English. And if you've ever even tried to read like a Finnish menu at a restaurant, as I have, it's just, the letters have like appendages. It's very weird. It's almost like wingdings.
What's like the one with like the O with the line through it? And
that's the easiest one because at least you know it's an O. But there's one that has like a tumor attached to it and it's not a B, but it could be. It's very confusing. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in Trumplandia?
So the president got in a little bit of trouble, and I'm going to defend him on this one because I actually believe him. It takes a lot for him to take something down from social media. Yes, he does not like to retreat. He's retreated once in the past that I can remember. Another controversy that I actually 100% believe him on. someone posted on his account or gave him a video to post that included a video depicting President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as monkeys as part of this meme of Democrat politicians singing that Lion King song or whatever that thing is. And while I do think that the meme intentionally chose them to be monkeys for racist purposes, the president clearly didn't mean to include this because it was a 10-second pre-roll of a video that was coming after the video that he was posting. I legitimately do not think that it was his intent.
Yeah, the original thing was like a thing on voter fraud or something.
Yeah, and it was like a minute long, so it was very obvious, I think, what it was. And he just didn't watch the video all the way through. He just posted something because some staffer pulled it for him. He took that down, I think, because he believed that it was an error or he did not intend it to be the posting. Last night or yesterday morning, I can't remember the timeline, he posted an AI image that made it look like he was Jesus looking over the sick, right? When you saw that image, because I'm the Jew, I can't really speak to this. Did you identify that as Jesus?
Yeah.
Right? It looked like Jesus to me. And I say this as the one who's accused of killing your Lord and Savior. And I apologize, it was not me. And it was the Sadducees, by the way, so don't give me a hard time. So he ended up deleting this after it gained some traction. Some of the backstory is he also criticized the Pope for being critical of what's going on in Iran. So the president earlier today was asked about this and said, it was not me as Jesus.
I did post it, and I thought it was me as the doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So
I will defend fake news on this. It does look like Jesus. And I also believe when he says he thought it was him as a doctor. Because, and I'm sorry, some people are going to be upset with this. It's the truth. I don't actually think he's particularly religious. I think he only said that during the campaign because he wanted to cater towards the religious crowd, where there's nothing wrong with that because literally every politician does that. People just generally don't like to acknowledge that. I will acknowledge that and be unpopular.
I think he's sympathetic to religious people.
Sure. But I don't think he clearly overstated his personal religious beliefs. My favorite book in the world is the Bible. No, it's not. And it's okay. I don't need you to hold that position. But he does care about the religious, groups out there. He clearly is trying to speak to them and hear them out in ways that I think are legitimate. But he was never, and I still don't think even post near assassination, I don't think he's particularly religious. I don't need him to be particularly religious. There have been plenty of really religious politicians who have been awful, who have been really amoral. I'm sure Eric Swalwell is a big believer in Christ. I'm sure he'll post something about that, or we'll find something like that. Nancy Pelosi, the biggest Christian you'll ever meet. I support abortion up until the baby's first cry. In fact, even after. Like, okay, I'll take the fake Christian who's anti-abortion than the quote pro-Christian who's pro-abortion. So I do kind of believe him that he did not realize it was Jesus, because I don't think he has that frame of reference when looking at these images.
Just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
If he really was trying... He's posted awful things before, or objectionable things, and defended it and kept it up. So why would he take this down? What's the purpose to take it down if it wasn't an honest misunderstanding? Since when does he back down on things? I can't think of anything other than the last mistake. That's why I kind of view this as a mistake. Do you view this as a mistake? You're a little on the fence, I can tell.
I don't know if I believe that he thought he was a doctor, but...
Well, then why take it down? What's the benefit to taking it down? Especially knowing his personality where he views any kind of walk back as weakness.
I mean, just because I think it did ruffle a lot of feathers in his conservative base as opposed to his enemies.
You think that matters to him? The guy who said, I can shoot someone on Times Square and they'll still vote for me? It's certainly true that there were conservatives who pushed back at this. Michael Knowles, Joey Jones. I saw a lot of those tweets. Said, why do this? I legitimately don't think he thought it was a Jesus image. And if you don't have a reference point, it doesn't look, if you just look at him alone, other than the finger with the light, like there's no long hair Jesus, which if they gave him kind of long hair, then it's kind of hard. There was no cross in it that I saw. Was there? Did I miss it?
Yeah, I could see him mistaking it as like him being divine, but not him explicitly being Jesus.
Yeah, so that's the part. And maybe he's lying about being a doctor, but he just thought it was more divine versus like, I legitimately don't think he thought he came off as Jesus. And the background had the American flag, was patriotic. So it wasn't a great AI image, to be honest. But I'm going to defend him on this one. Buying a used car can be stressful, so Sunset Auto Family is taking the stress off your plate with a 48-hour used vehicle exchange policy. You pick out a car or truck, you drive it for a couple days. If you're like, I don't like this anymore, it's not the right fit that I thought it would be, they're going to get you out of that car or truck and into something new and better, new used car, without any gimmicks or loopholes, because you just get more at Sunset. People do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com. When we come back, the big local.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
A recent 5-star General Transmission Google review.
I had my 2018 Ford Mustang's transmission rebuilt at General Transmission, and I couldn't be more satisfied. Mark gave me a great deal, way more affordable than what the dealership quoted me. Not only did I save money, but the work was done quickly and professionally. Mark was honest and upfront throughout the whole process. I'll definitely be recommending him to friends and family. If you need your car fixed right, Mark at General Transmission is the guy to go to.
Hey, how's your money situation? Are you ready for retirement? Well, if you want to know what the pros are doing to make wealth multiply and retire like royalty, then you need to listen to this show, The Money Professor, with Chris Longworth. Get your money right and tune in every weekend, Saturdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 12 noon on Seattle Red.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it, with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Wait, everything on this IHOP value menu is just $6?
I told you it was amazing. A huge plate of pancakes, bacon, and eggs is just $6.
Wow.
There's also French toast, a ham and cheese omelet, and oh, they got a BLT and fries now.
Okay, we're coming here every day.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Feast for just $6 with the IHOP value menu. $7 in some locations, available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
I saw her texting, coming up to a stop sign. And so I saw the accident coming and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines and I was able to sleep through the night. And that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Sammamish, Kent, Olympia, Everett.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Centralia, Lakewood.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at that, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local, brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show, heard weeknights, 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. It's part of the show we completely ignore stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start with police in Bellevue who have been working for 2 years to arrest an organized group of roaming thieves who were targeting elderly people on the street. They would steal expensive jewelry, sometimes go in for a hug and then just take everything. We've covered a lot of those instances over the course of the last 2 years. We just found out that last week, Bellevue cops were able to arrest 2 members in Federal Way and arrested them weirdly in Kirkland. 2 members are from Federal Way, but they ended up getting arrested in Kirkland. The ones who are allegedly responsible, Drew Anderson from Bellevue PD, says these arrests could lead to others.
That could lead us to more suspects, and that could lead us to more opportunities to, hold other individuals that are connected to this organization accountable.
The investigation is ongoing. More arrests, they say, are possible. Meanwhile, 3 people are hurt, 2 of them critically, after a terrifying break-in in a home in Everett. According to the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office, a little bit before 9 a.m., deputies were responding to a report of a burglary. A 20-year-old man who the residents knew arrived at the home, knocked on the door, forced his way inside, they say, and it was at that point he allegedly started stabbing the victims, a 45-year-old woman, an 18-year-old woman, and a 22-year-old woman who also lives at the home. They were able, despite the, very serious injuries, they were able to stop this guy. The 22-year-old who was at the house was able to put the suspect in a chokehold until the deputies arrived. Of the 3 victims, 2 were transported to Providence Medical Center, according to Como, where they are in critical condition. The 22-year-old was able to escape with just some minor injuries. The 3 victims are family members. The suspect is apparently an acquaintance that they had met just a couple of times. We don't know yet what the motive was or is, but they do think that this could be related to behavioral or mental health issues that the suspect allegedly suffers from. So, it's one of those stories where not completely random in the traditional sense, but might be motivated by some sort of mental health issue, which, it's not easy always to even know when someone is dealing with a mental health issue, certainly not to the point where you might think that they are dangerous. So we'll keep an eye on this. Meanwhile, a young boy, God, we're just all crime and negative stories right now. A young boy was attacked by a dog while riding his bike. It was caught on surveillance. He's still shaken up, but he is okay. Here's the mom.
Now he's just freaked out. He's so scared. He doesn't want to go outside. He doesn't want to ride his bike. I just think the timing is interesting. I had no idea how many great people there were around us, and I'm so thankful that we live here.
So they were just, riding around on a bike in this Puyallup neighborhood. They were real close to their home, and this dog just kind of comes out of nowhere and starts attacking this boy who manages to escape, but then run back towards his bike where the dog attacked again. They say this is completely unprovoked. And, you just heard her make reference to this, but someone pulled their car over to help while this was happening. The incident was caught on, I guess, someone's Ring camera or something like that. And, the kid needed stitches to fix a bite to his ear. And the dog apparently was not up to date on its shots. So the kid's doing okay, but not a fun afternoon bike ride for the kid. And obviously the parent is living with this fear as well. The Cairo News team, Cairo 7, helped connect the mother and the man who saved her kid.
Hello. I just wanted to say thank you. We're so grateful.
Then he sheepishly looked around and said, I get a reward for this, right? It's like, well, you didn't like return the stolen bike or a lost kid. You did the, no, I'm kidding. He didn't do that. Although, wouldn't that have been something? What are they supposed to do? It's so awkward. I get that Cairo 7 wanted to be there to film that, which I would too, no doubt. But there's, of all the back and forth, that's all they pulled? That's all they were able to get, that like awkward, oh, hello. And what do you do if you're the man? Do you give him a hug? Hey, kid, glad you're okay. Like, what are you supposed to do? I'm glad the kid's okay. They say the dog was surrendered by its owners to Metro Animal Services. They haven't given us an update. I'm assuming they're going to put the dog down, which just makes this story even more depressing. And I don't know if it's true that it was unprovoked to the dog, right? I don't know anything about this dog. It could be just a dangerous animal. You don't have real details in the story. They just seems like it's some random dog that was in the area, to the family random. But is it possible that the dog was triggered by something? Why would the dog just automatically attack this one kid? And maybe this is what the dog does. And I'm not saying the kid did anything wrong, but as a dog, I got a dog a few years ago. His name is D'Artagnan.
Really? How does this never come up?
It's weird that I've never brought that up. But, he gets triggered. He doesn't bite, but he definitely does a angry bark, like a snappy bark out of anxiety. He's never done it to a kid. He's definitely done it to like Amazon, like delivery people and unattractive people, homeless people, things like that. And he got triggered by something. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't just do it to everybody who walks by. He just gets randomly triggered. So don't you kind of feel bad for the dog? In the context that the kid's okay. Again, traumatic experience, no doubt. He's injured. He had to get a stitch or stitches on his ear. Wish it didn't happen. But I'm also feeling for the dog who doesn't realize it did anything wrong. I'm guessing. Again, it could be one of the mean dogs that was bred to be mean by the environment that the owners put the dog in triggered this. But
it's a social construct. That's what made the dog do it.
Well, how about this? This is bad. So if something like this happened to me and I was attacked by a dog and I was given the opportunity to say whether or not we should put the dog down, I'm nearly certain, especially in a circumstance like this, I would not say put the dog down. I would say, no, maybe abandon the dog to better owners. It's an owner issue. Let's figure this out. We should have the kid decide. Because this could accomplish two things. One, whether the kid is empathetic or a psychopath. Because I think even if he was seriously injured, I think all kids would say, no, don't put the dog down. We might be two birds, one stone right there. Or is that in poor taste? Don't put that on the kid. But what are they supposed? Don't you think the kid would feel bad if the kid learned that the dog was put down as a result of this? Do we want to put that kid through that kind of trauma? And I mean that sincerely, that one.
Yeah, I mean, personally, if I was attacked by a dog, but I ended up being okay, and the dog had really no other history of really doing it, I'd be like, okay, it's fine.
Even if the dog had history, I would feel bad about signing its death certificate. You would say, yeah, go ahead, take it out back.
I mean, if it was like mauling small children on a consistent basis, maybe, I don't know.
But then wouldn't you argue that dogs should just not be around kids ever? Send the kid to Idaho on a ranch next to Jay Inslee and let them, he could train him on off time when he's not tweeting stuff out about Donald Trump. I'm just saying, why is a dog that has harmed a kid or shown any kind of aggression being put in front of other kids? That's all I mean. It takes a lot for me to blame a dog. It really does. Now, if a dog attacks my dog, never mind, we're done. You go after D'Artagnan, you're done. I will take you out back myself. I will. We're going to old yeller you so quickly. And you know what? Not to the back of the head. We're making eye contact. We're doing this. I'm kidding, sort of. Well, I mean, just don't harm my dog. Finally, Another animal story. Jeez, what's going on here? All the crime stories and animal stories. This one at least has a happy ending. Remember last week we told you about a horse, a little miniature stallion or whatever it's called, was stolen from a barn in Enumclaw. Now, a stolen horse in Enumclaw, I even don't want to know where that could go. That could go so many different directions to create new memes and whatnot. I want to take that out. Now I can't get it out of my head. Oh, dear God. They have found the horse safe and sound. King 5 says the investigation into the theft of Reuben, the horse, is ongoing, and a spokesperson for the sheriff's office said over the weekend that they were not able to release further information about the case, which could mean one of two things. They have a suspect in mind and they don't want them to know, or they honestly don't have a suspect in mind and they don't want people to know they don't have a suspect in mind. But my guess is this animal was found because of all of the attention that it got. They say it was especially difficult for the horse's owners because it followed the death of a woman named Stephanie in November after a battle with breast cancer. This was her animal. The early morning theft happened in a secluded barn where Stephanie spent much of her time caring for her horses. King 5 says family members say the only witnesses to the crime were the animals in the barn, which I don't know why they include that like cutesy little detail, as if that's going to make us smile. Especially when the animal was missing. The only witnesses were the piglets. Yeah, okay, we got it. Reuben was registered. The family asked the public for their help. And now they say Reuben was found. So that's good. They say found and not returned. I don't know if it was returned and they're just not delivering that detail. But this obviously means that someone saw the coverage and they were getting concerned that they were going to get popped for this. Because I can't imagine. I've never fenced a miniature horse, but my guess is it's not easy. I could be wrong. You could chop it around to some restaurants, I guess. I don't know.
Is it possible that they just wanted to like take him for a ride? And
no, it's not possible that they wanted to take them for a ride, so they showed up early in the morning to just steal the animal without any conversations. I feel like this family would have been like, oh, sure, you can ride him. Hold on, let me go get my jacket. It's cold outside. I'll walk you through it.
Maybe they're introverted and they didn't want to ask.
So you're defending the horse thief, and you just said you wanted to shoot an innocent dog?
Not defending. I'm just surmising as to what could possibly be another explanation.
It kind of feels like you're making excuses.
No, I don't think you should steal horses, but
I don't know. It kind of sounds like you're not calling it a theft. You're saying, what if it just wanted to ride around?
No, I'm saying it very well could be a theft. I'm just wondering if there's any other possibilities.
So you're positing to me that it could be a theft, but that means that it more likely is something else. I mean, look, could it be a theft? I mean, I guess it could be, but also it probably was this. That's your position?
No, okay, so it's like a 99.9% chance it's a theft. I'm just wondering if there's like a 0.01% chance that there's
your
something we hadn't thought of.
Your suggestion that it could be a theft, probably wrong use of words, right? It could be. You mean it likely is a theft, but is it possible that it was something else? That would make a little bit more sense. I would still mock you for it, but that would make a little bit more sense. I'm going to fit in one quick story, mostly because I don't want to do this tomorrow. Birders will descend on Swim next weekend for Olympic Bird Fest. The only thing that sounds worse than Tulip Festival is Bird Fest. Well, this one might be better, right? This one could at least be kind of cute.
At least Swim's always sunny.
Yeah, I guess. They've got two of the ugliest birds in this Como story. They don't even look like real birds. They look like stuffed animals in this thing. And they are kind of adorable, like ugly adorable. Okay, never mind. This is better than the Tulip Festival. Tulips don't have personalities. Apparently they're not blue or black, so why would you even want to go see them? Seems exclusionary to me. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. 1-800-465-8770. We come back. You pick the stories. Story number 1, Senator Mark Kelly is accused of hypocrisy for his comment deriding white people. Or story number 2, Utah Valley University is facing some backlash for a commencement speaker choice after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Who did they ask for? If you want, we can talk about it. You vote, we talk when we come back. 1-800-465-8770.
Progressive knows you think the grass is always greener. Like maybe you ride a motorcycle. But today, it's raining. So you wish you had an RV. But if you did, you'd have to listen to some guy parked next to it at a campsite plays acoustic guitar. Now, before you start wishing you had a boat, remember, your brother-in-law would invite himself every weekend.
Permission to come aboard, Captain?
But one thing that is greener is the money you could save when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. I feel like I should do a solo performance and sing this next commercial, but it feels like, one, it might turn people off from the Harold Carr Law offices, and he's there for serious reasons. You get injured in a car accident, you're going to want someone on your side. You want someone to fight for you. You want a team to fight for you. One of the biggest reasons for getting representation after a car accident is most people end up with a whole lot more recovery when they've got a law firm representing them. And the only one that I recommend is the Harold Carr Law offices. Car accident, you call CAR. The website is carlaw.com, C-A-R-R. There are 2 R's in CAR. You hire the Harold Carr Law offices, and chances are you'll end up with way more recovery than if you went it alone. And that is after the law firm gets paid. They don't get paid if you don't get paid. You're also going to save a ton of time and stress not dealing with the insurance companies yourself, trying to communicate on their terms. That is a losing battle. When you've got Harold on your side, when you got his team on your side, everything looks a whole lot better. Carlaw.com. 2 R's in car. C-A-R-R. Carlaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Hey, what a surprise. We got tons of rain here in the Northwest in the late winter into the spring. It all adds up. Now's the time of the year when the ground becomes completely saturated with water, and that can cause real problems in your crawl space. It's Mike Salk here, and groundwater intrusion in crawl spaces, it's pretty common, but it's got to be addressed before it causes structural damage or even worse, toxic mold in your home. You don't want any part of that. That's why if you're worried about any groundwater in your crawl space, you call Crawl Pros and you get a free corner-to-corner inspection. They'll climb into that crawl space, see what the condition is. They will go where you don't want to, definitely where I didn't want to. They came to my house and handled all this stuff. If they find water, they'll install a groundwater drainage system and a sump pump and reroute that water outside your home's footprint where it belongs. Don't take the risk. Do what I did. Have Crawl Pros come out for that free corner-to-corner inspection. They'll even check your attic at the same time. If you're worried that anything is going on with your crawl space or attic, call Crawl Pros or visit crawlpros.com.
No matter the season, there's always a reason to upgrade your outdoor space. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years, designing, building, and maintaining beautiful landscapes that fit your lifestyle. From full yard transformations to weekly maintenance that keeps everything thriving. And when you mention Seattle Red, you'll get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
You pick the topic on the Jason Rantz Show.
Indeed you do. You're curious about what's going on at Utah Valley University. Remind me, why do we know the name of this college?
It's where Charlie Kirk was speaking when he was assassinated.
Okay, so you would think that there might be some sensitivities over that particular incident that has defined an entire college campus, rightly or wrongly, right? I mean, if you're UVU, you don't want that to be how you're remembered, but the reality is, outside of Utah, that's how people know Utah Valley University, which is why it was such an odd decision for them for commencement to choose an author and educator named Sharon McMahon, who, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, wrote on X, quote, "Millions of people feel they were harmed, and the murder that was horrific and should never have happened does not magically erase what was said or done. To many Americans, especially if you are Black, LGBTQ, or Muslim, Charlie Kirk was not a person who simply engaged in good faith debates on college campuses." So what can one be thinking to select that person for commencement, other than maybe not doing any due diligence and looking up any controversial statements from the person? I'm not in the camp that says don't have quote unquote controversial speakers, because you're always going to have someone who claims a speaker is controversial. I'm guessing that they just did not think to search their account. But if you're UVU, don't you just want to make sure on this one issue is what you search for? That's just so unbelievable. And Fox News had a write-up on it because they had someone from Fox and Friends talking about this. And they said on campus that the reaction has been a little divided and that conservative students are generally upset with this, but the liberal students are celebrating this. That means you have a significant cultural problem on your campus that you should be ashamed of. Absolutely ashamed of. The UVU campus chapter of the TPUSA, their president, Caleb Chilcutt, was on Fox and Friends yesterday.
To bring someone who was so critical of Charlie the same graduating year, I see as a slap to the face. They could have brought any other speaker if they liked Charlie, didn't like Charlie. I honestly don't really care, but the fact that they brought someone who was so critical literally days after his assassination on my campus is just shameful for me.
Shameful is being charitable, honestly. This is so disgusting. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who was there and witnessed the assassination, was also on Fox and Friends.
She's a liberal hack who is taking every partisan moment that she possibly can, and this is not the moment. It's a horrific choice. It's insensitive, untimely, and unnecessary. You want to inspire these students who are graduating, not put up in front a partisan who is totally anti-Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's message was a positive one, but this is not the moment. This is not the place to do that. To Caleb's point, this is an embarrassment, and it comes less than a year after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Maybe they could have invited somebody else like Erica Kirk. You know, maybe she wouldn't have done it, but they could have done something like that, or just totally avoid the issue and take a positive moment. But no, they picked a partisan hack. She's not a nonpartisan person, as the president tried to sell her.
And, you know, his point is valid, but I think that's besides the point, honestly. He's right to call Sharon McMahon a partisan hack. I'm kind of familiar with her. I think I've seen some of her tweets before, or Instagram. I don't remember. She looks kind of familiar, and I vomited a little bit, and I did. So that was my natural reaction to her. So I must have seen her. You have time to fix this. And again, there's an easy way to fix this. We were unaware of that tweet. Now that we're aware of it, it does not seem tasteful to have her come by and speak. If you're Sharon McMahon and you had a soul and you weren't a partisan hack, you would just raise your hand and simply say, I don't think this is the right move given the response from half the campus. You still get your kill fee. I think you get 15%, even though you didn't do anything. Just take that and be happy.
I feel like it's kind of weird that she would even agree to do it there in the first place.
The reason why I'm guessing she said yes and hasn't said I'll do the right thing and not go is the point was to do it there in the first place, that she wanted to make a message. And for all we know, she might have planned a speech around the assassination of Charlie Kirk and try to, do some sort of nuanced conversation about how it's okay to disagree without being disagreeable. Some garbage like that. They can fix this. They're choosing not to at this point. And it only seems like they're doubling down. This hasn't gotten a ton of attention. I know The Independent just picked it up today because this initially started to percolate last Tuesday, Wednesday or so. And, you know, it got some new life over the weekend with Fox and Friends giving this some attention. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And so this is an easy story to just kind of overlook. Oof, this is just, it's the latest reminder that just because people work in education doesn't mean that they're educated, that you can be book smart and throw out a bunch of statistics, but when it comes to like doing basic things like showing humanity, you could still be a scumbag. And unfortunately, I think that's what we're dealing with here. And kudos to the local outlets, at least, that are covering this. And a lot of students are speaking up and saying that this is outrageous. But, you know, since Chaffetz made reference to this, the president, Astrid Tumanez, said, Sharon McMahon is an original. She's a force of nature and a force for good. Sharon's work reminds us of the power we each hold and that every individual is mighty in some way. What does that even mean? It's just words. Bumper sticker doesn't mean anything. Say that about anyone. It's not you. They can say that about you, Jeff, but they could say that about me, I guess. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. What do you think the school should do at this point? Seems obvious to me. 1-800-465-8770. Also seeming obvious, become a Jason Rantz Show podcast subscriber wherever it is you get your podcasts.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Well, folks, a golden sunrise is dawning over America. Trump is back, ushering in a time of American prosperity, peace, and achievement. And with the economy ready to boom, it's a great time to get a piece of the golden era for yourself. Hi, I'm Brian from Northgate Rare Coins. Whether you're looking to sell your old coins, jewelry, paper money, or precious metals for some quick cash, or you want to make a smart investment for the future, Northgate Rare Coins has you covered. My brother Brendan and I draw from decades of experience to ensure our customers get honest, upfront appraisals and great values every day. We don't have fancy showrooms or high-pressure sales pitches, which means we can usually offer our customers the best deals around, and our appraisals are always free. Celebrate a great new day in America and at Northgate Rare Coins.
Invest in your golden era today at Northgate Rare Coins. See them online at northgaterarecoinscs.com or in Linwood, see the coin market off 164th Street.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Talks are moving along. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Vice President J.D. Vance, just back from peace talks with Iran, said progress has been made, but there are sticking points.
We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on.
And we've made that as clear as we possibly could.
On Fox's special report with Brett Baer, one red line, Vance says Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. As far as another round of talks, Vance said the ball is in Iran's court. President Trump says he will not apologize to Pope Leo XIV after criticizing him over his opposition to the conflict in Iran.
He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran.
Leo said he has no fear of the Trump administration or of speaking out about the message of the gospel. California Democrat Eric Swalwell has announced he will resign from Congress after allegations of sexual assault came to light.
In his statement, he says in part, "I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make." The decision comes after a bombshell report ran Friday in the San Francisco Chronicle detailing the story of an anonymous ex-staffer who claimed Swalwell sexually assaulted her while she was too intoxicated to give consent. Since that initial Chronicle report, 3 additional women also spoke to CNN with sexual misconduct allegations, including accusations that the congressman sent explicit text messages and nude photos.
Fox's Max Gordon in Los Angeles. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of Texas says he will retire from Congress as calls continue for him to be expelled. He already said that he would not seek re-election after admitting to an affair with a staff member who later committed suicide. He's set to submit his resignation papers tomorrow. America is listening to Fox News.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaid spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She can get a deal. Book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Oh, Jesus! The yellow light! God, I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming live on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. Eric Swalwell doesn't just suspend his campaign for governor. He is now stepping down from the House. He's not the only House member who's stepping down. We'll get into that, but first, private security is coming to Golden Gardens Park in Seattle, which tells you everything you need to know about how well things are going right now in the city. That is what's trending.
What's trending? Crime.
If you have to hire private security to patrol your neighborhood, your parks, whatever it is, that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. Now, I suppose there are some instances in which you've got neighborhoods filled with families so wealthy, they're all like, I got to do something. I am being called a job creator on the Jason Rantz Show for my wealth, so I might as well just create some jobs even though we don't really need it. Okay, that's one thing. This is not Medina. That's not what we're talking about here. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people who are concerned about their communities. And this is a park that unfortunately has been dealing with a lot of it's a combination of sort of like the riffraff to the homeless to just flat out dangerous drug users and drug dealers who have taken over this park at times. It's not the worst of the worst of parks, but it is pretty bad. And if you're living nearby and you want to use this park that you're paying for as a taxpayer, especially given the fact that we're getting dangerously close to having some pretty decent weather for more than just a few days at a time, you want to do something. And you know that, unfortunately, the city of Seattle, via their parks department, they are not doing much of anything at all to help. The SPD, unfortunately, does not have nearly enough staff to tackle this issue. So you get together with other community members and you say, we're going to hire some people. From May 1st until September 30th, 1 or 2 officers hired from a private security firm will patrol Golden Gardens Park. They'll be stationed from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. Thursday through Sunday nights, because that's when the worst of the worst actually happens. A resident named Julie spoke with Como.
The city has fostered an environment that, because they haven't enforced anything for years, people believe they can just do whatever they want down here because there's no repercussion. So we'll see if they can change the behavior that's been established for years.
And of course, it's not, by the way, just the criminal behavior. It's also noise complaints, littering, broken beer bottles scattered all over the place. And some of that is just coming from otherwise law-abiding residents, to be clear, right? This is not just like the homeless drug addict who's causing problems here. It's Jackson and Cash and their friends going out to the park, getting sloshed throughout the night, and then just leaving all their stuff all across the park.
Well, I wanted to go home, but my fiance was like, let's have one more drink.
Let's have one more. So you got a spritzer bottle over there. You got some Zyn canisters over there. It's just a total mess of bro energy. Just to be clear, that's his fiance. It wasn't Jackson. Jackson does not have any bro energy. His fiance, however, is just addicted to the Zyn. And it's the pouches. Pouch after pouch, just pouching it up. It's unbelievable. That's why she's always so high energy. Is that self-medicating? Is it her version of self-medication? Oh, Jackson doesn't want to respond to that one?
I think she's got plenty of medication already, I think.
Can we all agree that this is a really, really, really bad sign when something like this happens, and that if you take your job with the city seriously, this should be embarrassing. You should legitimately be embarrassed if you represent Seattle Parks, if you represent City Hall in any way, shape, or form. This should be embarrassing. I give a pass to the cops who I speak to, and I know they want to help. They're just not staffed adequately enough. Could police do a little bit more on overnights? Sometimes. And I imagine that when they have the staffing in place, they will prioritize certain neighborhoods. The problem is, if you prioritize this park, what about that other park? And that other park? And that other park that also have similar issues? This is the community finally doing the right thing, stepping forward and saying, okay, we're going to do something. But man, if you're the city, who I think is paying for this at least, don't you look at this and say, man, we're totally screwing this up? And if the city's okay with this and will pay for this, why can't they step up and do more of this with private security firms all across the city and just offer some additional supplemental public safety services? Because we can't call this police, right? They're not police. But why not just do more of this? If you're going to, to me, it's worth the money. It's worth the investment here. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Degenerate members of Congress are dropping like flies. Not just Eric Swalwell, but also Tony Gonzalez, the Republican, who announced abruptly earlier today that he's retiring from Congress earlier than he anticipated. This was after admitting to sexual misconduct with a staff member. Now, to be clear, the situations between Tony Gonzalez and Eric Swalwell are not apples to apples. They're in the same universe. One is the accusations, at least, are alleged criminal behavior for Swalwell. In the case of Tony Gonzalez, he's just a scummy person. He apparently had a consensual affair with a staff member who ended up killing herself after all of this. And Gonzalez initially denied having an affair, but it was clear that he definitely had an affair. There were text message exchanges that were revealed, and he ends up getting called out by his own party. And I will note, and I have a somewhat complicated relationship on this story, because on the one hand, I'm disgusted by him and wouldn't want him representing me. On the other hand, we have no one to lose on the House side for Republicans, and it's part of me would hold my nose to have someone like this vote with us just until we can replace him. And there was an election, right? He was being primaried. Do you remember how he did on the primary? He didn't win. And so the voters made the decision for themselves. And that's generally where I stand with scummy politicians. Generally speaking, if Eric Swalwell was actually running for re-election for his House seat, push aside the gubernatorial race. If Eric Swalwell was facing these accusations and there was an election in 3 weeks, and at the time that the Tony Gonzalez stuff really came out, I think there was only a week or two left. So it's comparable. I would say I think the voters should decide. If this is after an election and the guy's not up for re-election for 2 years or whatever it is, then it's a little bit different for me personally. I tend to err on the side of having the voters choose who will represent them. And if the voters, upon learning about Tony Gonzalez's behavior or Eric Swalwell's behavior, both alleged and caught on awkward video that was posted on X over the weekend, they should get to make that ultimate decision. They get to decide, not me. But there's some, and the position that they hold, I understand. Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican from Florida, said before, and this was before the news that he was resigning from Congress. This was him just announcing he's not going to run for governor in California. She was saying he's being investigated for this. That's enough. He should step down. She was on Fox.
Yeah, it's completely inappropriate. I will be filing a motion to expel Eric Swalwell. It is unacceptable for him to just index his campaign for governor in California, but still sit in the House of Representatives. It is unacceptable. And frankly, I don't think that they deserve taxpayer dollar paychecks while they're going through all this.
That one, again, I'm kind of on the fence because I want to be fair about all of this. Someone being accused of something does not mean that they're guilty. Someone being accused of an affair is not the same as someone being accused of a rape, right? One is a crime. The other one is a moral issue, a moral crime, not a criminal act. And just because you're accused does not mean you're guilty. However, Eric Swalwell has been just high and mighty. Even when there's a clip that's going around again, Ben Shapiro last year at some point, I don't even know why he was testifying.
I think it was a couple of years ago.
Was it a couple of years ago? He was testifying for something. He was called by Republicans as their expert on something. And Eric Swalwell had asked him whether or not he thinks it's a sin to engage in homosexual activities. And Ben was all like, as a religious Jew, the act, yes, you caught me. And Eric Swalwell was like, oh, you just leaning into how dare you, you're unethical and you're immoral for holding these views that I happen to disagree with from a religious perspective. This is a guy who said he was a Me Too champion. This is a guy who's come out multiple times, Eric Swalwell, about how we have to believe all women. We have to go after people like Brett Kavanaugh, who was not even credibly accused of anything wrong, and he didn't do anything wrong. But leaning into the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, specifically, clearly Donald Trump is guilty of something that's covered. Like, I can't stand people like this. This is an example of Swalwell talking about Brett Kavanaugh.
I saw continued demeaning of victims of sexual assault, people who deserve to be heard, who deserve for their allegations to be investigated. For Brett Kavanaugh's sake, if he is innocent, I hope tomorrow he opens his statement and says, you know what? Bring in all the victims, allow them to be heard, allow them to be questioned. That will clear his name if he's indeed innocent. And if he's not, for the sake of the credibility of the court, I hope that the senators would vote against him.
I mean, dear God. Here's some more hypocritical comments.
Well, everyone wants to see the Epstein files, Nicole. MAGA wants to see it because they now fear Donald Trump is lying to them. Democrats want to see it because the reason we've always wanted to see the files, it's about the truth. It's not about politics, it's about victims. And the truth is, many of these victims were teenage girls who had real wrongs done to them. And our job is to protect the most vulnerable. And actually, consistently over a decade, there's one group who has always known the danger of Donald Trump, and that's women. And it's no surprise that women, when it relates to Epstein, believe that he's lying to them. After all, they've seen their own rights just in the last few years over their own bodies taken away from them. So they have real questions about Donald Trump. And when it comes to women and Donald Trump, no one has been worse for them. That's why I believe he's in this free fall in the polls right now. It's women.
Okay, then. Okay, then.
Walked right into that one.
I didn't say anything. Although we have another clip of him talking about how people are terrorizing women. Was he talking about himself? Oh, no, he was blaming this on ICE, huh?
To me, if you're going to run around our state masked and not showing yourself, not showing ID, and terrorize women, then you should not have a driver license. The governor has the power to grant driver's license in any state, and I call it reveal to wheel. If you're going to go into our communities in a way that no other law enforcement agency does, masked, and as I said, as a terrorizing bandit that women are afraid of, then the governor should revoke your driver license and really go on offense and restrict your ability to harm people.
Okay. Well, we're restricting someone's ability to harm other, at least future staffers, now that he announced that he's going to resign. But he does say he's innocent. Okay. I feel bad for the people who legitimately are innocent, who get caught up in all this stuff, right? I don't care if they're on the opposite side of political issues or anything. Like, it's wrong to have to suffer for something you didn't actually do. But now he's finding out the hard way, perhaps, if he is in fact innocent, what it's like to be a victim of a political witch hunt, including from people on your own side of the aisle who decided, yeah, we can get rid of you now. We don't need you now. And Tony Gonzalez, I'm imagining part of the reason why he made his announcement today was at least it doesn't change the vote at all, the power structure in the House. You have one fewer Democrat, you have one fewer Republican, so it doesn't really change anything. But I mean, is he innocent? Who benefits from this? Because I still think that there was some level of coordination. There's no way all of this just started to come out at the exact same time. I know, I obviously, if a domino falls, it could encourage someone else to speak up, right? But I don't know. This felt awfully coordinated by someone or some campaign, not the victims, right? I don't think like they're lying, but I think the timing just seems off to me.
Help clear the field too in the governor's race there.
But that's my point, right? And as I said earlier on in the show, this is a winner takes all top two advance. Top two right now in the polls are Republicans. And the reason why is because in deep blue California, you've got 400 different people who are running for governor, and they are taking up all the Democratic votes to the point where 2 Republicans are in the lead right now. There might have been that a campaign got all of this information, or the party got all of this information. And they were saying to themselves, look, if there's going to be a Democrat who does end up advancing here, it's probably going to be Eric Swalwell if he's able to crack into that top 2 because he's the leading Democrat. This is going to come out when he runs for governor, like if he's the nominee. And there's no way he would be able to overcome this. So let's just get rid of him now so that we don't lose California. Because if you lose California, even under those circumstances, it's a seismic shift politically. And it becomes a huge talking point about the future of the Democratic Party. They can't even win in deep blue California, and they think they're going to win Texas. Like, it would become a big storyline. So I'm guessing that was behind the timing here, that the allegations are believed to be true and being put out there in good faith, meaning they actually think that this is truthful. But also they're probably doing this because he seemed like he might be able to advance to the general, and this would have come out. And, if I'm guessing, I would look at probably Katie Porter's team, maybe one of the others. I can't even, Villa LaGrossa, Becerra. There's a whole bunch of different people running.
Tom Steyer?
Does he seem like the kind of person who would do this? He's just such a
dopey
guy. I don't know. But right now, both of those two candidates, it's not going to be Villa LaGrossa, it's not going to be Becerra, it's not going to be Mahan, I think is not the more moderate guy. It's going to be Katie Porter or Tom Steyer benefiting. And ironically, if both of them are the only ones who get the 11-ish% of the vote from the Swalwell camp, that might not put either one of them into the number 2 slot. They're trailing by a good amount because of how many people are running. And I'm guessing every single campaign right now is saying to themselves, hey, let's try to get those votes. That's what we needed to push me into that top tier. And it might still not work out for the Democrat. It likely will, but it's possible that it doesn't, especially keeping in mind Eric Swalwell's name is still going to be on the ballot. And that guarantees that some people who just don't pay attention to the news or who just randomly vote for people whose name, I have an uncle named Eric, I'll vote for that. Like those people exist. That's going to take some of the votes away. And if it's 1%, 2%, that could actually hurt someone in a race that's this close. So if I'm Bianco or Hilton, the 2 Republicans, this is not good news for you. They'll spin it to, in a way because it at least allows them to highlight how they've not allegedly raped anyone or slept with staff members that we know of. But this is not good for them. So we'll keep an eye on it. I do find it interesting and dramatic. I'll be talking about this on Katie Pavlich tonight on News Nation at 7 o'clock with, oh my God, the aggressive progressive Chris Hahn. Call yourself aggressive, which allows you to be a total jerk.
Is that what he calls himself?
Yes. That's his brand name and his podcast, I think. The Aggressive Progressive.
He's really annoying.
He's just, I don't care that people disagree with me, and I will happily debate. I'll be on CNN next week doing that with a table filled with liberals who don't like what I think. I have no problem with that. The whole just intentionally talking over people and yelling over people, not only do I think it's bad TV, I can't hear you because I have an earpiece in and I'm talking. And when someone's yelling at you while you're talking, it's very difficult to be able to stick to whatever, like you just lose your track of, you don't even know what word you just used. It's just so annoying. And so then I always have to just stop and make a really, really annoying look on my face that basically says, really, we're doing this again? Okay, fine. And then I'll usually insult the guy or whomever's doing it, and then I feel like a jerk for doing it because that's not on brand.
Wasn't he a Schumer staffer?
He was, I think, chief of staff or something. Like he was a top aide for Chuck Schumer. Another guy who just, can we just put him out to pasture at some point? Like, I don't get the party right now.
Well, a lot of Democrats might agree with you on that one.
No, I know. I legitimately don't understand what Democrats are doing right now. Everything on paper should point to them dominating in polls, right? On everything. Because when you have one party in control in D.C., no matter how successful the party is, generally people are like, I don't want one party rule. They're generally against that. They've got an unpopular president right now who's suffering because of, I think a lot of it is because of poor media coverage, but I'm not going to make excuses. He's suffering now in the polls. And yet somehow the Democrats are doing worse. How? We had a problem with, what's his name? Mitch McConnell. We had a problem with him. What did we do? Took him out. Got rid of him. We replaced him with someone who's boring, whose name I always forget. I was like, oh,
John
yeah.
Thune.
I know. But I'm like, oh, yeah, it's John Thune. And on the House side, we kind of did something smart. Get someone was kind of an unknown to the media sphere and kind of also just kind of boring in Mike Johnson. I like that. I want boring and effective. That was, what's his name? Paul Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
But he was boring, right? Just
very like policy wonky.
Yeah, just good dweeby, dorky guy. That's perfect. I like that. That's what I want in leadership. I don't need like someone, with the exception of Jim Jordan. I will happily take Jim Jordan as Speaker of the House because I like him. He's a show friend on top of it. So we have access to the Speaker of the House for once. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. Did you know that every qualifying new and used vehicle from Sunset Auto Family comes with oil changes for life? That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your vehicle. So when you're ready for your next car or truck, be sure to visit our friends at the Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner. Online at sunsetautofamily.com. When we come back, we're going to sound some alarms. The Washington State Supreme Court is getting ready to do something that will impact every single person's safety. We'll explain with Tacoma Police Union Chief Henry Betts when we come back.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Ugh. Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. From offering traditional home loans to construction loans and real estate investment, Legacy Group Capital, based in Bellevue, they can help you. They've been rooted here in the Pacific Northwest for nearly 2 decades. They are not a traditional bank, and that's exactly why they are not going to slow you down and mire you in red tape. Legacy lends its own money and makes its own decisions, and that means they move fast and they tailor their solutions to you. I've been working with them personally. I know what they're about. And what stands out is how easy they make everything. When you're dealing with a big bank, everything's rigid. But the folks at Legacy Group Capital, they approach everything with common sense. They look at your plan, whether you're buying a home or even building one. Maybe you're developing property. If the deal makes sense, they make it happen. Construction loans, bridge loans, fix and flip financing, even consumer products like their shared value mortgage that helps lower upfront costs. They've helped thousands of homeowners, builders, and investors. They can help you. The website is legacyg.com, the letter G, legacyg.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Well, there's nothing I hate worse than being cold. And if your house is feeling a bit drafty or the floors of the main level are way too cold on your feet, that's probably because your crawl space and attic don't have enough insulation. It's probably making your furnace work overtime. So now you're spending more money as well. Well, how about a free and easy way to learn if you need better insulation? Just schedule a free corner-to-corner inspection of your crawl space and attic with Crawl Pros. It's exactly what I did. They'll show up to your house. They'll go where you don't want to, certainly where I didn't want to, and they'll tell you if you got any problems with your crawl space, your attic, and especially your insulation. If they do discover your home is under or improperly insulated, they'll show you all the utility rebates as well to help you get that work done correctly and affordably. If you're a PSE customer and your home was built before 1990, you could receive a rebate to cover up to 95% of the cost. Make your home more comfortable. Save on your energy bill with Crawl Pros. If you're worried that anything's going on in your crawl space or attic, critters, mold, water, plumbing issues, call Crawl Pros or go to crawlpros.com.
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
Jason, I listen to Gavin Newsom and I think everything now is some sort of deflection.
What's really odd to me, because he's obviously running for president, is he runs California. Usually when you're the governor of any state, you're going to point to your own accomplishments. But when you have his kind of record, you can't really do all that much to point to what it is you've been able to do unless you want to sink your own campaign.
The Jason Rantz Show every afternoon from 3 to 7 on Seattle Red. Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content. The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
The left-wing Washington State Supreme Court, they are quietly considering a rule change that would make it nearly impossible for judges to impose bail or even issue arrest warrants for defendants who skip out on court hearings. We've talked about it in the last month or so with two different judges who are both running for the Supreme Court. Under the proposal, courts in Washington would have to prove a defendant specifically intended to flee prosecution before doing anything about it. And every single defendant would get at least one free pass to miss court entirely before bail could even be considered. Misdemeanor bail, by the way, would be capped at $200. It's not just judges who are sounding the alarms. Law enforcement has serious concerns about what this actually means for public safety. It's such an important issue. My next guest is taking some time out of his spring break vacation with his kids to talk about it. Henry Betts is the president of the Tacoma Police Union, and he joins me now. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason.
From a street level perspective, what happens to your officers when defendants know there's essentially no consequences for skipping out on court?
Yeah, it makes it entirely hard for our officers. It's not just that we're going to have all the repeat offenders out there quicker and faster and reoffending. There also becomes a point where you kind of just want to take your ball and go home. You can only get beat down so much before you pull back a little. It's like human nature. And so it's debilitating because you get so frustrated with all these attacks on law enforcement that you kind of get this feeling of, why am I doing this job? Why do I continue to go hard or try hard when I just keep seeing the same people out there every week?
Yeah.
And that's not at all what people want to do. You sign up for this service to do a good job, but these constant maneuvering and things to help the criminals, like, where are the people standing up for the victims' rights in this?
Precisely. And there's also just a practical impact that this will have on your officers' workload. It's not just about public safety. We'll talk about that in a second. But what does this mean for workload?
Yeah, it'll increase it. I mean, one of the things we do, like, quietly that people don't really talk about or think about, but a lot of times we take somebody who's experiencing some drug issue or a really emotional issue or some big thing that's causing them to behave in a way that's criminal, and they just get to go sit down for a minute. You know, you can almost think back to like the old TV shows where the town drunk got locked up for a night to sleep it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we do when we take people who are making bad decisions is we give them a chance to sit down and hit reset. And that helps them from racking up 2 or 3, 4 cases at once, right? And we saw this during COVID, similar kind of thing, where we were not booking people, and so you would see the same guy over and over and over again. Well, it's funny when the cops and the defense attorneys start teaming up, but that guy would then rack up 4 or 5 cases rather than sitting down on the one. And so we're going to have that again.
Now, the folks who are pushing for this rule change, especially around the cash bail aspect, they say cash bail doesn't actually improve public safety outcomes. As someone who represents a whole bunch of folks who are dealing with the repeat offenders, as you just pointed out, what's your response to that?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely not true. I think you see repeat offenders. There's been all these studies in Seattle, and there was a citizen in Seattle who took a bunch of time to pull a whole bunch of reports that did a really good story on this, where there was like the number 1 reoffender, and the guy had been arrested like 70 or 80 times in a 2-year span. So people have looked at this already and proven it out. There's a certain segment of the population that reoffends a whole bunch, and they create a vast majority of our workload in law enforcement. It's seldom that we have a guy that does a vehicle prowl or a burglary, and they just did it one time and they realize, oh my gosh, this isn't for me, and they never do that again, right? That's the one-offs. The rule is a lot of our criminals repeat offend, and they drum up 90% of our work, and bail and sitting them down and making them get before a judge and actually having a trial, like, that process is designed to work. This idea of no bail or just letting everybody back out, it does not work. And if we were going to go that route, you would start by saying that we need to change how we prosecute cases so we can move the prosecution up to a quicker pace and not have cases getting prosecuted 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. That's where you'd have to start that. You wouldn't start by just letting everybody back out.
And you mentioned early on in the conversation what this all means for victims. I mean, if you're a defendant who skips out on court, gets your free pass, you skip again, and your officers, they finally track them down, what do you say to the victim who's been wading through all of that?
Yeah, I'm worried about it. And I'll tell you, the ones I'm most worried about are the domestic violence ones. You take somebody who's in this very emotional, volatile state, and you finally get the offender locked up, when a lot of times we don't get there. Domestic violence is really bad, where it'll go on and on and on for a long time. But when it finally gets to be too much and we make an arrest, we're going to try to get these processes with the orders and everything else. If we're just letting those guys back out instantly, that's not a good answer for the victims of domestic violence, right? They need that couple of days where the guy's locked up, maybe to get things adjusted, get moved out, get some resources. And now we're saying, we're going to just let him back out for a cap of $200 bail with 10% of that for $20. So he's out an hour later.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say, in fairness, the $200 bill or bail cap excludes DV cases, but there is this shift to the willful flight standard on imposing bail, which I think is what you're talking about, just for people at home, just to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, the sentiment behind it is sticking, which is they're going to keep attacking this until they get to the point that there is no bail. I remember a couple of years ago, Houston tried a similar thing, and the city of Houston's, huge. But at one point, one of their law enforcement union guys came on the air and was talking about how they had 600 people out on bail in the county around the city of Houston on murder charges. Wow. And they were all released back into society while they were pending their trials on murders, but 600 of them at the same time. Crazy. It's just absurd.
Well, and we've seen it at a state level too, right? I mean, New York and Illinois, as it relates to the bail, quote unquote, reforms, which were not really reforms. It was just dismantling the bail system, the cash bail system for political purposes. How much of the patterns we've seen there are we seeing play out in Pierce County?
Yeah. And in Seattle, the Western Washington, we keep trying these bad ideas, and they don't have good outcomes for victims. It's not good outcomes for law enforcement. Really hard to hire people into our profession right now. Mm-hmm. And typically, when it's really hard to bring people into a profession, then you end up playing with the standards and lowering them and trying to take whoever you can because nobody wants to do it. If you play that problem out for like 5 years, it doesn't end well for the community. Like, we want to have the most professional. We want to have the highest standards. That's the goal, and that's what the community would want for us. But we're making it really difficult to recruit with these laws.
Henry Betts is the president of the Tacoma Police Officers Union. We're talking about a proposal that the state Supreme Court has been quietly considering. Quiet despite the fact that, we've talked about this before. We've had judges on to complain about what this new proposal would mean, which would give the defendant who a lot of protections to essentially flee from showing up to court hearings and flee from prosecution. There'd be this new bar where you have to prove that they willfully chose not to show up for a court hearing with the explicit intent of not being prosecuted, which, as judges have pointed out, including Judge Dave Larson, makes it nearly impossible for the judge to ever have a warrant for someone who failed to appear. And what Judge Larson had pointed out on the show about a month-ish or so ago, where his failure to appear rate in federal way dropped because defendants knew that showing up actually mattered and that they wouldn't get away from any sort of consequence by skipping out. If this rule passes, what's your honest assessment of what happens to that incentive structure across the state?
Yeah, it goes away. If there's no incentive to show up, the word spreads fast among the criminal element. Like, they know how to work the system. It was funny, earlier in my career, I met guys who had already been in and out a couple times and did some stints in the pen, and I was surprised at how much more they knew about the system than I did as a cop. They really understood, how to work it, and if they were getting warrants or not on warrant. They knew how to find out quicker than I did. It's funny how well they get to know it. So once that incentive structure is gone, everybody will get to know it. They'll play it to their favor. Even if that weren't true, like even if I'm an idiot and this is all a great idea, isn't something of this big of a decision, isn't this why we have a legislature? Isn't this something that we would pass a law on? Isn't this something you take to the people and have a discussion about? Because the Supreme Court justices are pretty quiet and to themselves, kind of, they can just change the court rules, but there's not a big discussion about it. There's not a vote. There's not a committee put to where people have a chance to comment on it. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that's the way that you handle this.
The comment deadline on this proposal is April 30th. Anyone can go to the Washington State Supreme Court website and leave comment. We'll have a link available at seattlered.com. But Henry, what do you want the public and your rank and file members to do before that window closes?
Yeah, please speak out. Talk to people that are in the industry and ask them what they think about it. Don't just take some political talking point and think that it's right. We've done way too much of that in the last 5 years.
Please, please, please take just a couple of minutes. That's all it really takes to express your anger at this particular proposal, express your commitment to actually pushing back politically against all of this. These emails are public, so just keep that in mind, but you can get it at the state Supreme Court website. And again, we'll have a link up later at seattlered.com. We've been talking with the president of the Tacoma Police Union, Henry Betts. Switching gears, before we let you go, Henry, obviously we've seen in Tacoma, in Pierce County, we've seen it in Spokane Valley County. Like we're seeing turning off the automated license plate readers because of this new bill that Democrats pushed forward. How's that impacting policing in Tacoma?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a loss of a great tool. And the answer for the cities and the counties is turn it off. Everybody's legal is saying the same thing, which is until the law gets amended or we get some sort of clarification on intent, we're going to run into problems with the law as it is written now. So everybody's turning them off, and those tools have done a great job for us.
What's the big issue legally on why it's being forced to turn off?
Yeah, so the law doesn't allow you to capture the data at a whole bunch of different places that they want to protect. And the ability to know where those places are and that they don't move, medical, for example, medical facilities. Well, grandma's denture clinic might pop up on a new corner. So as we're driving around in our patrol cars, if all of a sudden there's some new denture clinic, we're not going to know that that's now considered a health facility. And so we're going to be capturing data that the law forbids. And the same thing with schools. All of a sudden there's some Montessori preschool or something, and it's a school area, and we drove through that parking lot or drove through and captured the plates from there. The cities and the counties are going to be so fearful of violating the law, which the legislature made a misdemeanor, so you're going to have cops committing misdemeanors. They're capturing all this stuff accidentally. They did it with the idea of it's these stationary ones only. We weren't talking about mobile, but that's not what it says.
Yeah, that's not how they wrote it.
Right.
Well, what are you hearing
even
from
if that was the intent?
What are you hearing from your representatives? I know Senator Yasmin Trudeau, the senator who represents Tacoma, has been pretty outspoken in favor of this ridiculous bill. It was hers.
Yeah, I read some of her quotes in one of the articles, and it was talking about how this has really got the conversation going. And I'm so disappointed in that because while I don't know anything about how Congress works or how passing laws works, and that's not my deal, I would think I would want to have those conversations beforehand, right? That's what you do before you pass the law. Once you start making a misdemeanor to do things, you'd want to already have your ducks in a row and lined up.
Precisely.
It's too bad because it would have been easy to talk to some sheriffs and some chiefs and say, what are you going to do if this law goes into effect? And they would have told you honestly, well, we're going to have to turn it off. And once we lose the tool, I'm telling you, there are some serious crimes that have been solved just because we have that tool. And, if those are not solved, those guys are still out there. And there's been some really high profile cases where that was what did it. I'm really worried about not having the tool for our people.
Yeah, it's weird that she brags about starting a conversation that could have actually taken place during the debate, and yet they weren't really interested in hearing from police. It's not just a complaint coming from the Tacoma Police Union, but we spoke with Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles last week, who said pretty much the exact same thing. I know at the Pierce County level, Keith Swank has said the same thing. It's absolute absurdity how this is all working, but by design, I guess.
Yeah, and I think this is really, it comes down to one, to do political points against ICE. There's this big political thing there, and there was a discussion about ICE having access to Flock and creating some big hubbub there, so everybody wanted to score points on it politically. And for the cops, we want nothing to do with all this politics, man. We just want to be able to do our job. And so for us to keep losing tools like the pursuit law that changed years ago that had to get fixed, like our inability now to interview a juvenile we arrest because of the laws, what we see is the legislature keeps taking tools and things that make us more efficient or make us be able to solve crime. They keep taking them away for political purposes, and then they wonder why the crime rate skyrockets or why there's this other rubber band effect snapping. It's because we can't do our job, and then it's hard to recruit because we can't do our job. It's all just part of the same thing, and they look dumbfounded at it, and it makes so much sense to us.
Again, all they have to do is talk to people like you. We've been talking with the president of the Tacoma Police Union, Henry Betts. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Yep, thank you.
You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into some quick hits right here on Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, now's the perfect time to check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Right now, when you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yes, free. And for a limited time, you'll also get a free clean air upgrade. Plus, CM Home Comfort Advisors are tax credit and rebate experts, so they're going to help you get every incentive available. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. And if your heating or cooling system breaks down, CM Heating's award-winning technicians can fix it fast with zero service call fees with approved repair. Whether you need a repair or a full upgrade, do not wait. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate or repair today. But hurry, the free clean air upgrade special won't last.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP. If you need security for your event or business, contact Security Services Northwest. From armed and unarmed officers to advanced remote monitoring, they've been doing it all since 1977. Go to ssnwhq.com for Security Services Northwest.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you. Guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
Washington State Governor Bob Ferguson has signed the state's millionaire tax into law. Is there any chance the whole thing could be overturned?
We have a constitution that states very clearly that property and income are the exact same thing, and if you're going to tax them, they have to be taxed uniformly. This was originally challenged in 1932 after an initiative during the Great Depression, and it has been rejected every single time since then.
Get the latest exclusive content from Jason Rantz, only at seattlered.com.
SeattleRed.com.
This was brought on by Democrats.
Finally, a website dedicated to local news in Seattle without the liberal spin. Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com. The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
We have a story up at SeattleRed.com that I hope you'll check out. It has everything to do with what's wrong with the Democratic Party, that they seem more interested in protecting criminal illegal immigrants than their own residents, their own taxpayers. In this case, it's about Oregon Governor Tina Kotek, who's very far to the left, who just signed 8 bills into law. 8 bills done surrounded by Democratic lawmakers and open border activists standing in Portland, of course, treating the whole thing as if it were some sort of victory lap. She called it the Immigrant Justice Package. Not Justice Package, but the Immigrant Justice Package. Now, they're talking about immigrants, sure, I guess, but they're talking about illegal immigrants, despite their branding, which intentionally conflates illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. They want you to hear the branding, immigrant justice. But here's what this actually is. This is a governor using the power of her office to make it harder for the federal government to actually enforce immigration law. That's all that it is. They love to say, this is not our job. We don't have to do this. This is the job of the federal government. Meanwhile, they're making it harder for the federal government to do its job. Schools are required to notify parents and staff if ICE shows up on campus. That one I don't particularly have a problem with, I suppose, even though I know the intent. They say hospitals have to create protocols and designate a staff member to manage any interaction with immigration agents. Again, they're going to try to cover this up as if, no, we're just here about patient care. Yeah, I bet. They say public agencies can't share personal information that could identify someone's immigration status. This is just purposefully getting in the way of immigration reform and giving out any service that they can to people, regardless of whether or not they're in this country legally. One of the bills creates a civil cause of action, which just means you can sue civilly if a federal agent enters property without a warrant. Now, that's legally suspect. In this case, I don't know, you can create a cause of action against what? The individual? There's a law requiring all law enforcement operating in Oregon to clearly identify themselves and ban masks because, only ICE wears masks, except during COVID where you forced everyone to. But again, this is intended to... Same thing in Washington, hamstring the ICE agents who do not have to, abide by this law. Kotek stands at this podium and, she does what she can to talk tough. And here's an actual quote. To those in Washington, D.C. who think they can bully Oregon into abandoning our values and neighbors, you got it wrong. Of course, I suppose there's truth in that, right? That the president, this White House, has hoped that states would do the right thing and go after criminal illegal immigrants, or at least not get in the way of the arrests of criminal illegal immigrants. But then you've got Oregon values like Washington values, which are very much different than mainstream values. Certainly, they're not moderate in any way, shape, or form. They're far to the left. These are people who believe in open borders, who do not seem to care that there are criminal illegal immigrants who are living here. They do not care. Because they look at, I guess that's the equity thing or the equality thing from the hardcore left. They see no difference between someone in this country illegally and someone in this country legally because borders are oppressive or something. This is stolen land. They're just very dramatic in all of this. But the part they don't want you to linger on too long is that no one can explain who's actually going to enforce any of this. They have all these different laws in place. Who's going to enforce it? KATU News asked the Oregon Health Authority, which regulates the hospitals, whether they actually have authority to enforce this hospital law. And at least according to this KATU News story, the answer was no, they don't have the authority. They said they don't have it. So then the TV station reached out to the Oregon Department of Education about the school notification requirement. They're like, hey, do you guys have authority over this? And they didn't hear anything back. So it seems like it's reasonable to ask Tina Kotek, well, who has the authority and what does that even mean? And of course, someone did ask that, and she just basically said, we'll cross that line when we come to it. So that's your governor right there in Oregon. 8 bills that she signed in this big ceremony to signal their virtue here. They had a bunch of press releases, I'm sure, but no answers on who enforces it when or if the bill is ignored. And that tells you everything you need to know about what it is they're doing here. That tells you that this is a virtue signal. Of course, they said, and this was a Democratic lawmaker who's framing this, says the reason why they passed these bills is because, quote, a 4th grader will feel safer going to school knowing there's a plan in place if ICE shows up. Well, actually, you just freaked out a 4th grader telling them that ICE showing up is somehow bad. The same way that you spend years and years and years demonizing cops to those same kids who then become adults, and then they cause bad interactions to go down between them and police. They're creating that system of distrust. That's where we are in Oregon, and that's where we are in Washington. The villain in the story isn't the person in the country illegally if you're a Democrat. The villain, I guess, is the federal agent trying to do his or her job. And all of this is just performance. This is performance art, really bad performance art, off-Broadway performance, off Broadway. You hold these ceremonies, you sign these bills, you give these defiant speeches, but you don't actually have any enforcement mechanism because the intent is not the enforcement. The intent isn't the law. The intent is the performance. And Tina Kotek gave her performance and got her performance at this press event last week. That's what governance looks like to Democrats. Let's pound on our chests and tell you all how progressive and virtuous we are. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Insulation rebates from PSC are at historic highs. American Crawl Space and Pest Services gave over $3 million in PSC insulation rebates last year, more than any contractor in Washington. Homeowners, business owners, and PSC trust American Crawl Space and Pest Services. Was your home built before 1990? Visit AmericanCrawl.com to see how much you can save on replacing your insulation.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots.
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
This baseball season, Home Comfort Alliance is changing the game. John Curley here. Get the price of a new heating and AC system in just 60 seconds on your phone with no pressure, no waiting. Just a few questions and you get a winning personalized price. That's a home run. And if your system is over 12 years old, it could be costing you up to 20% more or could soon fail. Score a personalized price for a new system in 60 seconds at HomeComfortAlliance.com. Call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
KTTH is now Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and SeattleRed.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
He's free for now. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Brian Hooker, the husband of a woman missing in the Bahamas, has been released from custody.
When he came out, he was emotional. He was speaking to a family member. And so I'm just trying to get him somewhere where he could relax and de-stress from this horrible experience.
His attorney, Terrell Butler, Brian Hooker claims his wife Lynette fell off the motorboat 2 weeks ago as they were traveling from Hopetown to Elbow Cay. Lynette Hooker's daughter has told Fox her mother and stepfather had a volatile relationship. Brian Hooker has not been charged with a crime, forcing his release. California authorities have arrested and charged a man in an attack against OpenAI CEO Sam Altman.
Police say a Molotov cocktail caused a small fire, which was quickly put out. He then went to OpenAI headquarters and threatened to burn the building. San Francisco Police Chief Investigator Luke Martin said Moreno Gama was found and items were seized.
Additional incendiary devices, as well as flammable liquid and a lighter.
Acting FBI Special Agent in Charge Matt Cobo said agents within hours of the arrest
executed a court-authorized search warrant at the defendant's residence located in Spring, Texas.
Moreno Gama is facing state attempted murder and attempted arson and other additional federal and state charges.
Fox's Gernal Scott. After a weekend of talks with Iran with no resolution, President Trump says
Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
This is U.S. warships are enforcing a blockade of Iranian ports, not allowing ships in or out to pressure Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is threatening to target ports of countries aligned with the U.S. along the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman unless the blockade is ended. California Democrat Eric Swalwell resigning from Congress after allegations of sexual assault. In a statement, he said he will fight the allegations. Yesterday, he announced he was ending his campaign for governor. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages ending higher with the Dow rebounding from earlier sharp losses and the tech-heavy NASDAQ notching its ninth straight session of gains. Investors are hoping that the U.S. and Iran will come back to the negotiating table after this past weekend's failed attempt for a deal. Oil prices trimming gains to slip below $100 a barrel. Investors are also watching financial results this week from major U.S. banks, which are expected to get a boost from war-induced market volatility. Goldman Sachs going first on Monday, posting a record quarter in banking and trading with its profit jumping 19% in the first quarter, but its stock fell nearly 2% as investors worried that the Iranian conflict will slow Wall Street's performance for the rest of the year. The Dow up 302 points, the NASDAQ higher by 281, S&P 500 up 69. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional.
The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app online at SeattleRed.com. We've got a ton to get to. Eric Swalwell is calling it quits, although, of course, he's completely innocent of everything. But he's stepping down from everything at the same time. We're going to get into that and so much more. But first, the latest from Iran. That's what's trending, brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? International.
So a lot of stuff is going on in Iran. We had the delegation over the weekend led by Vice President J.D. Vance meeting with the Iranian team, Pakistani negotiators. They met for a little more than 21 hours in Islamabad before the summit ultimately broke down. They were unable to come to any kind of an agreement. And the question, of course, is, well, why? Essentially, there's a lot of nitty-gritty details, but the biggest picture, as the president outlined earlier today, is they wanted to continue their nuclear ambitions, and we're like, yeah, that's definitely not happening, bro.
Iran, you marking it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And we agreed to a lot of things, but they didn't agree to that. And I think they will agree to it. I'm almost sure of it. In fact, I am sure of it. If they don't agree, there's no deal. There'll never be a deal. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the dust back. We'll get it back either. We'll get it back from them or we'll take it.
So now where things stand is we're kind of where we were yesterday, with the exception of now a U.S. military blockade of all Iranian ports and coastal areas went into effect about, I think, 7 o'clock our time this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. And the scope is a bit more limited than, number one, the initial rhetoric, and number two, how that rhetoric was taken, right? The president is not stopping all vessels, obviously, from traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. And as soon as this information came out, the big talking point was, that's a war crime, because everything that Donald Trump does is a war crime. That's against international law, they say, as they're not doing much to get in the way of Iran actually breaking international law and human rights laws at that. What we're talking about here is specifically, you can travel via the Strait of Hormuz if you're traveling between non-Iranian ports. Now, this, of course, makes perfect sense. This is not bad news for us at all. If anything, it's good news for us. Because if it's successful, and that's an if, we'll get into that in a second, presumably that makes it so that we are increasing the global oil supply, and not just oil. What was a big issue we talked about last week, given the fact
fertilizer?
That I wasn't done. I was setting it up.
I was trying to save time,
But it's called clock management. I've got to talk until 24 and 30 seconds. Man, what are you doing? I was trying to say is what's coming up soon is farming season. And what do you need to farm? Because if you just say fertilizer out the gate, people are like, what do you need cow poop for?
Well, I also don't have the headphones on, so I couldn't really hear you. Cash has them on.
Well, that sounds like a you problem. Cash is learning how to run the show. I got a very urgent email from someone saying, I cannot believe you're letting Jackson go. You cannot let him. I heard that he was leaving. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, did Jackson just post something on social media that he's quitting and didn't even tell me? Because that just seems, I'm going to fire him before that happens. And then they reminded me, I said that Cash was filling in for you. Well, he's training to fill in for you for when ultimately you're going to be fired. But I mean, you also might take some time off in between then and now. He's just throwing that out.
Wow, I feel so valued and loved. Jeez.
It was one person. Everyone, no one, not a single person even batted an eye. Like, who? Peyton's not there anymore? What about Tom's not there? What's going on? So obviously manure is a key piece of this because we need it for the global food supply. In theory, you have the potential of these ships saying, I will make this voyage. And this is not just about an individual who's brave enough to do it. They've got insurance companies that have to give the okay. So I don't quite know yet what impact, if any, this is going to have. I know that one oil tanker at least appeared to defy the president's orders, but the president's not going to, destroy tankers going through. We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're still, according to the reporting, communicating between our country and Iran. Trump said Tehran is trying to make a deal very badly, and this blockade helps move that along in theory.
Yeah, other countries are going to also. We don't need other countries, frankly, but they've offered the services. We'll let it be known probably tomorrow.
Has the blockade started, sir?
Yeah, started at 10 o'clock.
Started at 10 o'clock. Now, crude jumped to a little over $104 a barrel earlier today, and that was because, again, just a little bit of uncertainty, but it didn't go up nearly as much, actually, as I think some people anticipated it was going to go up. Senator Tom Cotton was on Fox and Friends earlier this morning.
The president's point is very simple to Iran. Either all ships come out or no ships come out. And the United States military can easily impose those conditions on the Strait. And remember, that's where Iran gets the vast majority of its revenue and how it supports its military and its terrorist proxies throughout the region. So this puts them now not just in a military vice, but in an economic vice as well.
Now, the premise of the argument in favor here is that Iran didn't just close the Strait of Hormuz, it turned it essentially into a toll booth, or at least that is what their intent is, charging ships for passage through an international waterway. Now, that's not some sort of defensive wartime measure. That is extortion of the global economy, which is why you heard some of the language coming from the president earlier this morning, that they're trying to extort their way out of all of this. This is not the United States escalating anything. It's just refusing to let a rogue state profit from chaos that it has created, that it is responsible for. That's why he's calling this world extortion. And keep in mind, the leverage is the only thing that works right now. Our leverage over Iran. They rely on, economically, I should say, they rely on the Strait of Hormuz under their control. And if they were allowed to simply say, we're going to charge per barrel $1 per barrel, which per ship would be like somewhere between $1 million and $2 million, well, we're going to be able to sustain ourselves during any kind of prolonged pressure from the United States, Israel, and our allies. That is what this is about. And so naturally, Democrats are against everything that is coming out of the White House. Congressman Adam Smith was on CNN this morning.
No, I don't support this move. I think we should get to the negotiating table in the war and in the conflict. Look, we never had a real...
We're at the negotiating table, Congressman Smith. Now, maybe he misspoke there and maybe didn't intend it to sound as if we weren't actually negotiating. We are negotiating. This is part of the negotiation. This is how we exert some pressure on Iran while we're negotiating. I know maybe the congressman wasn't paying attention over the weekend, but there was good faith negotiations on our part. We knew it was going to be difficult this entire time because you know what country is not trustworthy for anything? Oh, Iran. And yet we're still trying to do something here that's going to work. And of course, the alternate to this is worse. We could just accept a ceasefire on Iran's terms, right? We could just say, yeah, what Iran wants. But we're not the Obama administration. We're not the Biden administration. So we're obviously not going to do that. This signals that Iran can close the oil supply whenever it wants. That seems like the wrong kind of messaging. I mean, it's very much on brand for Democrats who want you to break laws and suffer no meaningful consequences. They're doing it at the street level here in Seattle. Go ahead and sell drugs. Close the Strait of Hormuz or 3rd and Blanchard so no one can walk by because you're selling so many drugs and you're passed out on our sidewalks. And then you don't have to suffer any sort of consequence. We don't like that on the right.
Realistic plan for eliminating the regime in Iran. That has always been the problem in this discussion, going back 15 years now, as we've dealt with it. They're trying to get a nuclear weapon, their ballistic missile program, their support for terrorism. All of those things were a problem. And yes, it was tempting to say, gosh, isn't there just one thing we can do to solve it? And everyone concluded no, because the military options weren't going to get you that fundamental regime change. Donald Trump ignored all of that, started this war, and the chaos has resulted.
But we didn't want a regime change. We explicitly said we didn't want a regime change. That was never part of the goals. In fact, y'all said it was critical that we not try to get a regime change. And now it almost sounds like he's saying we were, oh, shucks, we should have gone for a regime change. Pick a lane. Pick a lane. And right now, Iran has limited options. And that's good for all of us. We want them to have limited options. They have some options, right? And as Lieutenant General retired Karen Gibson pointed out on Fox News, part of the strategy right now with the Strait of Hormuz could just be to keep companies hesitant to use it at all. And it wouldn't even matter if you have a blockade from President Trump.
I think it's a very asymmetric threat on Iran's part. It doesn't take much, as you've indicated, fast boats. It's not that complicated to lay a mine. It could be a missile or a drone that goes at a vessel that's somewhere else in the Gulf, not just in that narrow transit corridor at the Strait of Hormuz. And again, all they have to do is scare industry into believing that the risk is too great to really begin to continue the chokehold that they've had or limit commerce and freedom of navigation.
Okay. Right now, or at least as of a minute ago, this just came out that the U.S. Navy has at least 15 ships, including an aircraft carrier and 11 destroyers, in this general region that could participate in what this blockade ends up looking like. And again, we don't quite know yet what it's going to physically look like, but the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, which has been participating in actions this entire time, they had moved to Greece for repairs last month, but now they're operating in the Eastern Mediterranean. According to CNN, they're joined by several destroyers and other support ships. It would need to transit either through the Suez Canal or out of the Mediterranean and around Africa before it would be in a position to assist in the blockade, but it looks like they're setting that up. We also heard just a moment ago from Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who says oil prices are likely to peak in the next few weeks. The president, yesterday at least, was on with Mario Bartiromo on Fox Business, not quite saying that oil prices are going to come down anytime soon. And he kind of hedged a little bit when she asked whether or not they'd be down by the midterms. He goes, they could be, or they could not be. It could be more. So we don't quite know. It's a little bit different from the president in his rhetoric last week of this is the end, but it does suggest that he's looking to allow Iran to exit this peacefully. I just don't know how long he's going to be willing to allow for that. But we will keep an eye on this. Sunset Auto Family's Warranty Protection for Life has paid over $6 million in warranty claims because they value the long-term relationships with their customers. I'm one of them. Stop by for Sunset's complimentary warranty health check because nothing is worse than a void warranty when you need it the most. This is just another way that Sunset's looking out for their customers. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Pramila Jayapal was out on MS Now this weekend. I know that was shocking. She just almost, you never see her on MS Now speaking progressive gibberish. It's very rare. And she said, I guess I don't even know if we can call this saying the quiet part out loud anymore because they've been pretty vocal, screaming. We've got to invoke the 25th Amendment. We have to remove the president from office, which is coincidentally the exact same talking points they used during his first term, and then the same language they used during the 4 years where he wasn't in office. Just they changed the tenses around. We got to keep him from office. Now they're back to we got to get rid of him. The same people who told us that there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden in the least, that they spent time with him privately, and oh my gosh, he can run circles around me. I need a nap by 11:15, and he's just ready to go. We heard that over and over and over again, including from the likes of Pramila Jayapal, who's now pretending that Trump has to be removed from office by whatever means necessary.
But right now, invoking the 25th Amendment requires the vice president and then requires him to get a majority of the cabinet. And so I have taken the position that we need to do whatever we can to get him out, impeach him, invoke the 25th Amendment, push for him to resign, whatever it is.
That's been very effective as of late. He keeps getting reelected. He keeps running. He's like, I think the 10th time he's been elected or something. I mean, they can keep doing this. I mean, whatever it is, that's the whole game plan for progressives right now, and really from the Democratic Party. They don't have a policy argument here. They don't have a candidate that they can put forward that they think is actually going to become the next president. They don't have a message that Americans actually want to hear. What they have is whatever it takes to get rid of this guy, that's what we have to do. That is their entire strategy, and it is exactly why their polling is in the toilet. You can talk all you want about low approval ratings for the president. It's true, they're low. Democrats are lower. Why is that? Because they're not saying anything other than they're playing the hits that are not hits. They were never hits. This is that album you put out when you realize I don't have enough talent to come up with something new. And so there was a bunch of crap that we had that we never released. Let's just release that. We'll call it the B-sides. And just, it doesn't quite work out that way. It is just really bad performance art. The 25th Amendment is a constitutional mechanism designed for one scenario: a president who is either physically or mentally incapacitated. That's it. They literally cannot perform their duties of the office because of that. That's what it is for. It is not a tool for some lunatic fringe congresswoman from Seattle who disagrees on foreign policy or having closed borders for her to come out and start to use at her will. That's not how this works. It's not a recall vote because you lost an election and you're still mad about it. Pramila Jayapal and all the other Democrats who all of a sudden are all talking specifically about the 25th Amendment understand they're not describing a constitutional process. What they're describing is a wish list. And the order she listed them in tells you something about her priorities: impeach him, 25th Amendment, resignation. She doesn't care which one works. She just wants one of them to work. She wants him gone. The mechanism to her is irrelevant. The democratic process to Jayapal, as she's taken a break from screaming about fascism, the democratic process is irrelevant to her. The voters who overwhelmingly put him there are irrelevant to her. And again, their language and how they talk about this president is no different than how they talked about him when he ran for president. And the American people listened to both sides and said, yeah, no, we don't buy that. We buy him. And so they're siding with him. This is the same playbook they ran in the first term, so incredibly unsuccessful. They were successful in getting him impeached, but not removed from office. They tried impeachment number 1, then impeachment number 2. Now they want to dust it off a third time, I guess. They already mentioned the 25th Amendment, which they know is not going to actually happen. This really doesn't make any sense. And by the way, they're doing this at the same time that the president's team, at his direction, just spent 21 hours negotiating with Iran so that we can come up with a peaceful solution here, which is precisely what they said they wanted. It's almost like no matter what the president does, they're always going to find a reason to complain. It's almost like that's the point. If you could do any of the things that Pramila Jayapal just screeched about on MS Now, you would have done them already, right? You would have expected them to do it already. They can vote right now to impeach, could they? They can introduce articles of impeachment. I'm pretty sure they already have. Al Green, not the cool one. He's the one who introduced it a few months ago. You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes on the left or the right. You definitely don't have it on the right. You don't even have it on the left. And obviously the cabinet isn't going to invoke the 25th Amendment against the president. I mean, you're out of your mind if you think that's going to happen. You are out of your mind. And you think this is the kind of guy who's going to resign? Oh, yeah. The one thing we definitely know about Donald Trump, even after he loses, he's willing to quit. I mean, that's obviously not going to happen. So what Jayapal is really doing here, and this is the secret, because I'm pretty sure if I check my spam folder, I'll already see it. She's just raising money. That's all that this is about. She's just doing this so she can put it in fundraiser emails that say, hey, give me more money so we can run to defeat that evil orange man, the fascist. That's it. That's it. This is fundraising. She's telling the MSNBC audience, all 15 and a half of them, exactly what it is they want to hear. So then the Act Blue money keeps funding all these different candidates, keeps funding her campaigns. Whatever it is, we got to get them out. Oh, okay. Really, it sounds like a woman of principle. Whatever it is. Oh, my gosh. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending on the road?
This is mildly shocking. Only 41% of drivers in this state have been complying with ignition interlock mandates after their DUIs. The Center Square just happened to be, and I can appreciate this, even though it's going to sound like I'm insulting them. They watch the dorky stuff because they're all dorks, and that's a compliment, by the way. But Washington State allocated about $400,000 back in 2024 to a bipartisan audit review committee called the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Committee, and they looked at the installation rates of ignition interlock devices in cars between the years 2018 and 2025. Now, the state had bolstered, I think, like $14.5 million specifically for the compliance. You get hit with a DUI. Part of the judgment is that you have to install one of these interlock devices in your cars as a direct result. But they looked at the numbers and they said 66,000 drivers with these requirements. Of the 66, almost 60% hadn't installed anything as of June. That's a lot. That's a lot. And it's weird again when you tell bad guys that they have to do something and you don't have any kind of follow up. Sometimes, or 60% of the time, they choose to completely ignore you. If you're one of the 40% that decided to comply, aren't you like looking at yourself? Well, you dummy. Why'd you do that?
No, I'm a sucker.
I just made my life so much more difficult. I'm already having to drive without being allowed to drink, and now I got to get this stupid thing installed. What about everybody else? It's so ridiculous. The course can require a driver to use one of these ignition interlock devices for up to a decade, depending on how many convictions they have for drunk driving. You're already doing things wrong if you have to increase the amount of years based on how many convictions they have. You're already doing that means you're going too easy on these people. And they say we not only did we put in the money, but we told you to do it. And then the committee was all like, yeah, but there was no one doing any oversight. You missed the oversight problem or the oversight issue. That's a little bit of a problem, a little bit. We're going to have a write-up on this over at SeattleRed.com. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show, 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. Eric Swalwell, not just out of the governor's race, but the guy who's completely innocent of everything is also now leaving Congress. We'll have the latest when we come back on The Jason Rantz Show. Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. When you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yep, free. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
Jason, I listen to Gavin Newsom, and I think everything now is some sort of deflection.
What's really odd to me, because he's obviously running for president, is he runs California. Usually, when you're the governor of any state, you're going to point to your own accomplishments. But when you have his kind of record, you can't really do all that much to point to what it is you've been able to do unless you want to sink your own campaign.
The Jason Rantz Show every afternoon from 3 to 7 on Seattle Red. Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content.
Homeowners, stop what you're doing right now and listen up, because Puget Sound Energy has new rebates that have never been this high. If insufficient insulation or no insulation at all in your crawl space or attic are impacting your energy bills, now's the time to get your free inspection from Northwest Crawl Space Services, because these PSC rebates could pay for up to 95% of your project, and that could mean thousands of dollars in savings on your job. But make sure you hire a crawl space company that's PSC certified, because not every company can offer these rebates. Don't miss out. Call today, and the team from Northwest Crawl Space Services are happy to give you a free energy savings consultation. Northwest Crawl Space Services will get rid of the critters, re-insulate your home, and hook you up with big-time savings and PSC rebates. Remember, these guys can solve any crawl space or attic problem, no exceptions. See if you qualify for savings from PSC. Go to nwcrawlspace.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Some people out there love to do things entirely on their own. I get it. Others ask for help and trust their resources. But when involved in an auto accident, you've got the choice of dealing with the insurance company on your own or hiring an attorney. I'm joined in studio by Harold D. Carr. He represents Harold Carr Law Offices. Harold, what's one main reason for seeking representation?
If you were to look at statistics, most people end up with a lot less recovery when they don't have a law firm representing them.
And why should they hire Harold Carr Law Offices?
We're not shy about bringing lawsuits. We do try to settle, and insurance companies know that. They know that we're fair in how we talk to them. The answer is really, we are very professional. But we've had cases, big and small, where we've had to take it into litigation, and about 98% of those will settle in mediation. A lot more than the client originally expected.
Visit carlaw.com. That's carlaw.com. 2 R's in car. C-A-R-R. Carlaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text message. It has been a roller coaster for Eric Swalwell since Friday, after all of these allegations came out. At least 4 women have accused him of some kind of sexual misconduct, including a former aide who said that he had actually raped her when she was intoxicated and could not consent. This is according to reports from the San Francisco Chronicle, which initially broke some of the news, and then CNN that followed up on. In fact, they spoke with a former staff member who gives us her reasons for coming out now with these allegations.
When I found out there were others who might have been impacted by Eric in different ways, I realized I couldn't be scared anymore, because that is how he keeps us quiet. The fear, the shame.
The fear and the shame. And when it became clear that there were other people who were willing to say something, she wasn't feeling that kind of fear or shame anymore. She also said she struggled with all of this. She, in fact, initially blamed herself.
I kept figuring out ways to blame myself. I shouldn't have reached out to him at all. I should have left. I should have done this. Well, Eric shouldn't have raped me.
Now, there are a bunch of different allegations here. Some of it is that women were inebriated at the time that sexual contact was made, or he tried to initiate some sort of sexual contact, that he was pursuing women who happened to be intoxicated. And to be clear, it's not always obvious in the reporting if he was also intoxicated at the time, which I do think is an important piece of all of this. But it became clear on Friday 2 things. Number one, this did appear to be coordinated, not from the victims themselves, but some outside sources. And number 2, point 1 doesn't matter, because point 2 is he's not going to be able to continue, at least as running for governor. And, you know, he was the leading Democrat, but by leading, I mean he had 11% of the support, according to whatever the latest poll was. It was actually, 2 people were ahead of him, Steve Hilton and Bianco, Sheriff Bianco, both Republicans polling higher than he was. Now, the reason why that exists is, and this is also part of the reason why I think there was a little bit of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. This is a winner-takes-all primary, so the top 2 vote getters advance regardless of their party. And he was in a position where he might not have been even able to get to that number 2 spot, and you'd have 2 Republicans who were moving forward. So you have to drop some of these Democrats out of the race. And it is possible that people looked at him and said, even though he's leading right now with the 11%, he's a weakened candidate because of all of these allegations that will undoubtedly happen, will undoubtedly be reported once he gets, if he does, advance to the general. So I think there was concern that he would be so weakened as a candidate, it would be a guarantee for Steve Hilton to win as the Republican. And things go from there. Now, Adam Smith, before all of this went down, before the congressman announced that he was going to step down, he was one of a few Democrats who kind of, I don't know if I want to call this straight deflection. He's pivoting a little bit, and he kind of did this with me who did we ask him about when he was on? I was asking if he thought a congressman should be kicked out for violating some law. I can't even remember what it was, but at the time he was like, well, I want to see what the facts are, which is a fair point if only he held that same view for Republicans who get in trouble.
Based on the allegations that have come out and on his own comments where he seemed to have admitted some form of wrongdoing, though he didn't specify, I think he should probably resign, and I'll have to see evidence before I vote to expel. The allegations are incredibly serious, but I got to look at it very closely because expelling a member of Congress is a big move. We've done it twice now in my career in Congress. Both times it was after the person in question had actually been found, well, in one case found guilty. That was James Trafficant way back in the day. And then Santos.
George Santos.
That was the ethics committee had reached a finding, okay? It wasn't just an allegation.
It wasn't just an allegation, but that didn't stop Pramila Jayapal, who's come out, again, before the latest news, calling for him to resign. Did we hear from any of it? Because I know you've got a story coming up at SeattleRed.com, Jackson, on the people who've called for his resignation prior to him actually resigning from the Washington delegation.
Pramila Jayapal did, and then...
I know the Republicans want him to step down.
Smith just strongly hinted that he would...
What? I don't understand why. Well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. In fact, I'm going to give Eric Swalwell the benefit of the doubt. Let me read you first his statement. I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. I'm not entirely sure if he tells us what mistakes he made. He's saying the serious stuff is false. I made some mistakes, but the serious stuff didn't happen. Well, then why are you stepping down? He said, I'm aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong. Sure, I used a different standard, quite the opposite standard, when talking about Brett Kavanaugh and literally any Democrat or Republican politician who's ever engaged in anything that even might seem suspect. But for me, I want different rules. I added that last part. But he did say, but it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress. Now, he tries to turn himself almost into a hero. I mean, what's happening to me is disgusting. However, I have great respect for my constituents. And so I'm going to step down. I find myself, out of just fairness, almost siding with him to a degree. What I thought was kind of odd, and Democrats fell into this trap all throughout the weekend, almost every single Democrat that I saw quoted. I don't know if he has to step down from Congress, but he does have to step down as running for governor, which doesn't really make any sense to me. You're accused of doing something egregious by several people. It doesn't mean you're guilty, but if that in and of itself, just being accused, is so bad that it warrants that you drop out from a race that voters 3 weeks from now would get to judge you based on the allegations and then determine whether or not they want you in office. It's so bad you have to drop out from that. But in a position where there is no vote, he should stay? That's the position of the Democrats? That's a weird position. I can make the opposite argument. I could argue that he should stay in the gubernatorial race because this information is out there. He gets to defend himself. He says he didn't do it. Okay, I obviously have no inside knowledge as to whether or not the allegations are true. But at least it's out there before a vote. That's the difference. In Congress, there's no way a voter can say, okay, well, now based upon all this information, I just don't trust him and I would never give him my vote. Because there's some people who want to bring up, and the pivot is the tell here. There'll be lots of Democrats. I'm on with Katie Pavlich tonight with our favorite progressive, Chris Hahn, who just yells at people all the time. It's just insufferable. He didn't yell the last time. But he's going to make this argument. I can tell you, I can script it out right now. They're going to twist this into Eric Swalwell did the right thing. unlike the Republicans who still back the rapist in chief. They're going to do something like that. They're going to claim that Donald Trump is a rapist, that he's a lawbreaker, and that he's in office. Now, if the consistency claim that some of them want to make were genuine, it would stand alone, right? You would not need to pivot. It was either a question of we hold our own accountable, or it's not that. It's either principle or it isn't. The instant that they pivot to Donald Trump, they reveal that it was never, ever, ever about some sort of principle. It was about leverage. That's all that this was about. This was about leverage. They're not saying we apply a standard. They're saying we'll accept a hit on our guy if it means we can go after one of your guys. That's it. That's scorekeeping. That is not consistency, and it's not accountability. The whataboutism in this concedes, I think, the original point. When you pivot to Donald Trump after claiming some sort of consistency on principle, you're implicitly admitting that Swalwell deserves scrutiny, and then you're trying to dilute it. That's not a defense. You demand the receipts of the consistency. All of us should. You're saying you're consistent on this? Okay, prove it. When have you ever been consistent? Just talk about this. Why are you immediately pivoting to Donald Trump? And there wasn't a single Democrat. I shouldn't say a single. There probably was a handful. But the Democrats overall were saying he shouldn't step down from Congress, or they weren't taking a position. They were just focused singularly on the gubernatorial. Well, what changed between the weekend and today? What changed? What fact changed? Or allegations changed? I don't know. And by the way, it's not just Eric Swalwell. Tony Gonzalez is leaving as well, the Republican, who Anna Polina, the Republican from Florida, pointed out that he needed to go too. They were all pretty consistent on the right. But if you want to go after Trump on this, there was an election with all of these details put out there. And what ended up happening? He won. Again, you can make the argument that Swalwell should not have stepped down from running for governor. He should have just stepped down from being a sitting congressman. Steve Hilton is the leading candidate for governor. Again, in fairness, it's because there's 500 people who are running. But he's doing well and has been consistently doing well. He's a Republican who called out the Democrats for backing Swalwell. Despite what I'm told, this is my favorite. I heard a lot of reports, including one reporter who come out. This has been an open secret for a very long time. Wait, what? This is an open secret for... You didn't think to report it? I had not heard this. I mean, I'm not surprised that the guy who swipes right on a Chinese spy was a womanizer and taking advantage, allegedly, of intoxicated women. He seems like a creep. He's always seemed like a creep. He acts like a creep. And like so many of the other creeps that left-wing media outlets embraced, Michael Avenatti, anyone? And folks like that, yeah, it turns out he is, in fact, a creep. Y'all keep embracing the creeps. And then you pretend that you're mad about Donald Trump about this and that. But just real quickly before Steve Hilton, here's the View discussion earlier this morning.
Swalwell sat on the Intel Committee, and there were allegations he had a suspected Chinese spy, Fang Fang, who was associated with him in his office. Now, he was not found to have engaged in wrongdoing. But to me, my spidey senses from having worked at the Pentagon go off, which is it was an open secret that he had issues with women.
Let's stop calling things open secrets. That means they're not secrets. Just FYI. A secret means it's not open. Quite the opposite.
He was somebody who was susceptible potentially to heavy drinking, to impropriety with women. And America's adversaries look for how to exploit that. Yeah. So that to me pinpoints it was openly known. Nobody did anything about it. But thank God that now Democrats, Adam Schiff and others have called for him to step aside, and he did the right thing by doing it. But no sympathy for this.
Again, y'all knew about this and you just chose not to say anything. Here's Steve Hilton.
Look, Bill, these allegations, these stories about Swalwell, they've been out there for as long as he's been in the race. I've been hearing this, and I'm on the other side of the political fence. And so the real point here is, why did he ever get in the race? It's the arrogance of these career politicians. They think they can get away with anything.
Well, I mean, let me answer that on Fox News for Steve. They usually can. I mean, they usually can get away with this sort of stuff. It takes an awful lot. If it was a quote-unquote open secret that he engages in this kind of behavior, he would have been outed multiple times. None of us heard this news, or at least to the rise to this level. Maybe some people suspected he's a creep.
And then you saw, excuse me, all these unions backing him, knowing this about him. You saw all these politicians like Adam Schiff and all the Pelosi acolytes in Congress backing him, even though they knew this was an open secret about Eric Swalwell on Capitol Hill and in Sacramento. And so it's amazing to me that he and they, the Democratic Party, thought that they could get away with it for so long. Now they're left with their backups aren't exactly great. Katie Porter or the...
I love that Katie Porter's next in line here, the woman who has also been accused of domestic violence, in this case, against her ex or then husband. The woman who we see on camera like scolding her staff, something I do support. I was okay with her yelling at her staff member for screwing up one of the shots. So I'm not going to get mad at her at that. But the other stuff is legitimate. But she's your go-to candidate now. She's just as bad. Presumably this helps Democrats as a party in California more than it hurts because, those voters who supported Swalwell, they'll go somewhere else. They're going to go to another Democrat, I imagine. But, it depends. If they all go to Katie Porter, then she's in good shape and the Democrats are in good shape. But if it's kind of equally distributed against the 500 people who are currently running, nothing really changes at all. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. I'm just shocked that this happened to the guy who branded himself as a Me Too champion. It always happens to these people. So that's why I will never come out and say I support any of these movements. I just want you to think that I'm a degenerate from the beginning. Then it stings less once it comes out that I throw staplers at Jackson. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. A Mariners fan is giving away season tickets. A little bit of a catch. We'll get into that when we come back.
I had pain. I had numbness in my feet. That pain and that numbness just got worse and worse and worse as time went on.
This is Greg describing life with neuropathy.
I went to 5 podiatrists, tried different treatments, tried different orthotics, tried different shoes, had cortisone shots in the tops and the bottoms of my feet. Saw a neurologist. All my medical doctors said, can't help you. Live with the pain. You're not going to be able to sleep. This is your life. And then I just gave up until I found Sound Pain Solutions.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, drug, and pain-free procedures that help neuropathy sufferers like Greg find relief.
I feel better. just feeling better is huge.
If you experience numbness, shooting or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Sunset Ford's been telling you the truth about pricing for years. All Ford dealers pay exactly the same from the factory to the penny. No secret deals, no hidden discounts. Nobody gets a better price. That's a fact. So how can some dealers like Sunset Ford actually sell for less? Well, it's simple economics. Dealers with lower overhead can offer lower prices. Think about it. Dealerships in Seattle or Bellevue, Tacoma, they've got massive buildings, big payrolls, sky-high rent. That's a lot of cost to cover before they ever even sell you a car or truck. But Sunset Ford's in Sumner. Smaller town, lower cost, same Fords. That's how you save. And with warranty protection for life and oil changes for life on every qualifying vehicle, Sunset gives you more than anyone else. No Ford dealer anywhere can get you a new Ford for less than Sunset Ford of Sumner. You just get more at Sunset Ford. And people do like that. Online at sunsetautofamily.com.
Don't wait. Insulate. Last year, American Crawl Space and Pest Services gave over $2 million in insulation rebates from PSE, more than any provider in the state. If your home was built before 1990, you're eligible for recouping up to 95% of insulation replacement costs. Insulate with American Crawl Space and keep your home warm during the winter and cool during the summer.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
This is the story of the one.
As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's almost like Jackson resents my success and would like to get me in trouble, which is why he chose this next story, which, let the record be known, I know what you're doing and I'm going to fall into that trap anyway. It's just everyone accept that I'm a bad person. I accept it. You should accept it too. Because I have to say this is an awful, insufferable idea. And I feel so bad for having to say it, which at least shows you that I'm not a psychopath, because I am feeling bad for what I'm about to say. There is a woman who's 70 years old. And she spent so much time with her son watching Mariners games until he died, tragically, at 27 years old, after what Como calls a brutal battle with muscular dystrophy. But she gets comfort when she goes to Mariners games. And they say for 3 years, she watched every Mariners game on her TV. She said baseball was peaceful and in a way reminded her of her son. It was on the anniversary of her son Wyatt's death in March of this year that she decided she was going to try to do something to move beyond the grief-stricken days inside of her home where she would watch the game. She decided she was going to go out into the world. She was actually going to go to Mariners games. And she decided to purchase season tickets. She actually, they say she lucked out. She got 2 field-level seats near first base. Although I don't always love that, because I always feel, even with the fencing, I'm going to get hit by a stray ball. I'm just a very nervous baseball viewer, and I only like to be in the suites or the Diamond Club or the Press Club seats. So she's now finding people. She went on Facebook to find people to join her at the games. Now, to be clear, it's not free, which is how what I originally thought. She says, I'll sell you a ticket at my cost, $71. Seats are in near first base. I'm a 70-year-old grandma from Olympia. You could be any age from anywhere. And she says, if you live between Olympia and T-Mobile, I'll pick you up on my way. Park in the M's garage. She got like 4,500 responses. I'm imagining a lot of them were, oh, this is so sweet. And it is. I don't want to do that. That just sounds kind of depressing.
And it's not even free?
It's not free. That's the thing. Like, if it were freebies, I'm like, okay, maybe you can justify it, but it's $71 plus. And again, I'm imagining a completely sweet woman, like totally sweet. God bless this woman. She's gone through a lot, and I'm glad she's able to get out of the house. She even, I guess, found an 83-year-old named Joan who wanted to come down. But could you imagine the depressing stories about loved loss between those two? It just sounds so depressing. And I hate that that's how I feel. That's how I feel. It feels, even though I don't think she would turn it into a burden, I think it would become a burden. We would create it as a burden. We would say to ourselves, oh God, we're going to have to talk to her the entire game, and it's going to have to be small talk to begin with, which I hate. I hate small talk so much. I don't care how your day was. I just don't. I don't care what you did on the weekend. Jackson, ask me what I did on my weekend.
What did you do over the weekend?
What do you care? You just want to tell me what you did on yours. That's the only reason you asked that question. Be honest. Be honest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone read my improv book. So you're gonna feel the pressure, I think, to evolve it to more meaningful conversations for her and her loss with her kid. And it's already tragic, right? I don't need to feel any more tragedy than I already do prior to, I guess, the 4-game winning streak for the Mariners against an awful team. They won today, right?
Yeah, they completed the 4-game sweep of Houston.
Hey, but they're playing the Lastros, I'm told they're called. Because they're in last place and they're the Astros. You get it? Astros?
Yeah, that's good.
You got it. I know it doesn't immediately come. But doesn't it feel like there's a whole lot of pressure on things like that, especially if it's not free? $71.
That's the weirdest aspect to me. It's like there's so many games in a season for $71. You easily find like other pretty good seats for much less.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go every week. You just do one time. But it just feels like too much pressure, and I don't want that pressure. If it happened more naturally and I just found myself seated next to this woman who maybe I saw on the news, I'm like, hey, I saw you on call, and then kind of move on to the game. But it feels like you'd be forced into longer conversations, and I just don't want it. I just don't want it. There's one baseball conversation I'll have, which is the Ichiro statue that was unveiled and the bat broke. Because whoever did that stupid thing, they took down, they had this big statue, it was the big unveiling. He was there, Ken Griffey Jr. was there some other people there. They pulled down the tarp or the sheet or whatever it is, and it, I guess, was too heavy because it just demolished that bat just fell to a 90-degree angle. Rick Riz was there for the play-by-play.
Here it is, the statue of one of the greatest players in the history of the game. There's a fastball inside, and he still got a base hit.
Yeah, it was funny, and through a translator, he made a joke. Ichiro,
in the Hall of Fame, I was short one vote, and then today my bat was broke. So this kind of lets me know that I'm still not there. That I still need to keep going.
That's fine. I mean, it was funny. It happens, I guess. I saw a lot of memes. A lot of posts online on social media about this. I just think it's kind of funny.
The Mariners made fun of it too because they were giving out little replica statues, and then they sent out a tweet about how it has like a broken bat now.
I thought it was kind of funny. It happens. No harm, no foul. If anything, we're just glad it didn't become, a metaphor for how the homestead was. They actually won. Maybe that's the good news. Maybe the new. You know how sometimes you wear your hat backwards or upside down or shoes on your hat or whatever. You can bring broken bats to the game. It's Jason Rantz Show.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. When you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yep, free. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
Insulation rebates from PSC are at historic highs. American Crawl Space and Pest Services gave over $3 million in PSC insulation rebates last year, more than any contractor in Washington. Homeowners, business owners, and PSC trust American Crawl Space and Pest Services. Was your home built before 1990? Visit AmericanCrawl.com to see how much you can save on replacing your insulation.
American Crawl, the heroes you crawl.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File today the easy way in the Credit Karma app.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.